So, yeah, Class A and C really have closed up. The Class B gap is the one that's really large, isn't it, with Adam Burgess ahead of the rest. But then I guess it is close to second. Second is Bird, third is Coomer, fourth is Downey. They're all separated by a couple of seconds. And Middleton, Handley, Hammond, Cunliffe, not that far behind. So for second in Class B, it's very competitive. Yeah. Oh, and on the two wheels on the grass there for the NSX heading into Old Hall. I thought... Chris Nye was going to have a moment there. He was trying to lap a Class A car, actually. And off the road, Matthew Tidmarsh, has he gone into the tyre wall there, I suspect? Or did he...
I think he might have avoided it, actually.
That's at Druids.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's going to continue, but having lost quite a bit of time. You talked about Chris Nye there, getting two wheels on the grass. Of course, he's another local driver to Oulton Park. Based in Oulton, 32-year-old company director. He actually started his racing here at Oulton Park in the XR Challenge, the local Tin Top Championship, which actually racing at Mallory Park this weekend. So unsurprisingly, he lists Oulton Park as his favourite circuit.
Matthew Tidmarsh is coming to the pits after off at Druid, so that's somebody that was in the top 5 within Class C, so that drops him out. So C is Dougal from Cairn, Kell and Meelan, the top 4 now.
So Tidmarsh, by the looks of it, did make contact with the barriers.
So he came out quite a long way from the tyre wall, didn't he?
Yeah, he bounced off them clearly, but there's got damage to the front of his car. We can see that there in the pit lane beneath us.
Interestingly, I think Chris Nye in the Class B NSX is pulling away from the Class A cars behind him. He's 12 seconds ahead of the Ashmore and Taylor car, which in turn isn't really being caught by Owen Fitzgerald, interestingly. There is the NSX actually on our screens. So that is Chris Nye, who's racing a Civic, wasn't he, at Silverstone last time out in Class C, but he did race his car at Spa.
Yep, so he's raced the car before. So, and he's racing it. It's really good effect now, and he's putting it, the kind of very good overall position as well. It's not a car that's necessarily contending for the championship.
His line into Old Hall is a bit alarming from this angle.
But like I say, he's a local. He started his career here. He probably knows the circuit better than a lot of people racing here today. So, if it works for him...
It's like Matthew Tidmarsh is going to get back out. It's that little strip of sort of tarmac that looks like they're running onto the grass. I think it's... Oh, there's a car off, though, isn't there, on the exit of Old Hall? Is that the Seat they've just put there?
Yeah, that's the Seat that they left there, I think.
So that must look more out of the way than perhaps it did there from the box. A slightly quicker lap last time by the Ashmore and Taylor Compact to start to close in on Chris Nylon. But it's a great run for them, isn't it? Will Ashmore and Matty Taylor. Their best result before now has been a 5th in class, but 11th overall. So this is a really nice run for that duo, and just on their personal best lap actually, a 54.8, and now 10 seconds behind the NSX.
Yeah, so hour and 10 minutes gone of the race, 50 minutes left to go. Stephen Cunliffe in the number 29 Honda Civic, he's now getting a track limits penalty as well. So too, the 719 car, which was started by Gavin Johnson and has now been taken over by Pip Hammond. So 2 drivers there about to be shown the penalty boards.
Not sure what the penalty is, whether that's pit stops. It's another opportunity at this point of the race.
It could be, another option there. There are penalties for, of course, track limits, but also for infringements in the pit stops, whether that's speeding the pit lane. You can see Gavin Johnson just walking up the pit lane. That one just been called to race control, maybe, to have a word there. But you can see Gavin heading away from our end of the pit lane to the race control end.
Colin Glepsey's gone back out after that car had been in the garage for a while, but that's dropped it out of contention. Joe Taylor for the pits, is he? No.
No.
This is probably the most frustrating couple of hours ever on a race circuit for anybody, I think. It is quite the commitment to just score a few points.
Well, it's probably the equivalent of driving through that long 50-mile-an-hour zone on the M6 on the way up, isn't it? A bit frustrated that you're not making slightly faster progress to your destination. No, so Joe Taylor, but still plugging away.
PB now from the NSX, a 153.9, which was quicker than the leader overall, and only 18 seconds away from it. So a fantastic drive this has been from Chris Nylon up to this point. 34 laps in the books. Not sure if you've got class lap records there, Ian, but I suspect that is one. But it's only a second away from what the Class A lap record was before now.
I don't think I do, actually.
I'm sure that would be the
Hang on.
car.
Here we go. More pieces of paper over here. Lap records. So Class A was 1:52.91. Class B 1:55.48. Class C 2:00.0054.
So I think they've
all gone.
Yeah, they've all gone, and quite significantly, which shows you the improvement in pace within the Club Enduro Championship in 2019. So across the line, the leaders have gone. So Baker 18 seconds ahead of Nyland. Then Will Ashmore in third, Owen Fitzgerald fourth, starting to catch the compact down. And then in fifth is Stephen Kent, sixth is David Trigg, and seventh is the Seat there, number 16, of John Gardner, all on the lead lap, those cars. Battle for second in Class B is pretty good still, between Bird, Coomer and Downey, just a few seconds between those three, as it has been, I think, since the safety car came in. So that's one to watch too. And then Class C, the gap there, don't think it's coming down too significantly between Nick Dougal and Imran Khan. What, about 35 seconds there. Up across the line, this is the battle for now third place, absolutely together. A slower lap from the compact means that Rory Hind is behind.
And we've had a spin for David Trigg in the Ginetta down at, between Hislops and Knickerbrook. So that's the driver that was in sixth place on the road.
It's absolutely together now for what is second in Class A, third overall, between the Will Ashmore, Matty Taylor compact and the Rory Hind and Owen Fitzgerald BMW. They've headed off towards Cascades on this lap.
I think Joe Taylor's car's getting ever slower, isn't it? It's just come past us again now. It's a 2:28 that time.
There is Pip Hammond. He's chasing, looks like Luke Handley's Civic.
No, it's not. I think he's getting a black flag there to say come in and serve a pit stop penalty, but it hasn't done yet. Certainly there's a black flag being hung out by the marshals. Pretty close here between three cars.
This is a change there for third overall, because that's Owen Fitzgerald going through ahead of the compact, isn't it? So for third overall, second in class.
Ahead of the Ashmore and Taylor compact cup car. So at Britain's, you can see Fitzgerald now heading down towards Hislops, turning his way through the right, left, and then the right apex at Knickerbrook.
The Ginetta's come into the pits, the car you saw off, Ian.
Yeah.
So that is now David Trigg, isn't it, at the wheel into the pit lane?
It is. It's interesting that Owen Fitzgerald making quite rapid progress away from the compact there as well, already pulling out a few car lengths from the red and black Army Motorsport car. The NSX comes over the line again and is only 2 tenths of a slower than the leader that time through, so 18 seconds is the gap between them, and Colin Gillespie back into the pits.
That's about a lap he did, wasn't it? Not much more. Still only 18 seconds between Baker and Nyland up front, so that's not really going out. But the question now is what Owen Fitzgerald can do. No quicker on that lap, but of course he had to make the pass. He's 17 seconds behind Nylon, and then so that's 35 behind the leader, which is Rob Baker. Rob Baker certainly hasn't had the pace of Cole Swift, but whether that's because he hasn't needed to, he hasn't drove at the pace we saw from Swift early on.
You can see Andrew Lightstead eating an apple as he's handed over his car to Imran Khan for the second half of the race. And that car is in 16th overall.
Had a change for second in Class B because the Bird and Owen car has been passed by both Chris Coomer and Michael Downey. So Chris Coomer in the Clio up into second place, the car that he shares with William Beach within that class. They're a lap behind Chris Nylon, but they're having a good run, the best run that Clio has had. It's had a fourth and a fifth in the 2 races it's done. William Beach has had multiple teammates actually, David Vincent, Adam Morgan and now Chris Coomer, but they're on for their best result they've had. If they can stay there ahead of Michael Downey, it was just a couple of attempts between them actually, so Michael Downey right on the tail of Chris Coomer, so that's a good battle to look out for. And there's a car for the pits, that's Luke Handley Civic.
Is it, or is it Stephen Cunliffe?
Might well be.
Who has a penalty to serve, I think, so it could well be. Yeah, he's into the penalty box. I think on your screens it's still saying it's Thomas Kirkland in the number 91 car, by the way. We don't think it is, we think it's a driver called Bird. Sadly, we've not got his first name. So he, or indeed she, is at the wheel at the moment. So they've obviously had a change of personnel, which was relatively late.
There's the NSX leading Class B, which is Chris Nylon. Took over from Alan Burgess, not really fallen away from the overall leader, which is Cole Swift, and Rob Baker now at the wheel.
Indeed, I don't know if we're planning to go down to hear from Jacob, so let's see if we can go down to Jacob in the pit lane and hear what's going on down there.
Well, we're here.
Nope, not able to go down to him just yet, but we have...
Down here in the pits, we've got race leader Carl Swift from Area Motorsport. Carl, how's the race going?
It's going good. We had a bigger lead and we pitted because we knew the safety car was coming out, but I think lost about half a lap at full pace, so a couple of cars have closed up and the gap's down to 18 seconds, but hopefully we can manage that.
And how's the new car working out for you?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we like the Civic and it's all drama and it's great to drive, but we've been driving it 120% and been there or thereabouts, but that's been causing reliability issues, so we've pulled the TCR cover off and brought that out.
And as a team, how well's it going in general? You've got a couple of cars out there, haven't you?
Yeah, it's going really well, so we just had to stack 4 pit stops at once, which was fun, and they all went smoothly, bang on time and all straight back out.
Secret to making it work like clockwork?
Preparation and good lads, good mechanics.
That's it. Cheers for the interview. Back to you guys in the comms box.
Real.
Yep, so we've got the 191 car into the pit lane as well now, but what have you spotted, Josh?
Well, as I was saying, Chris Kuma was going really well up to second in Class B. Well, he's lost that position immediately. Michael Downey in the Porsche going up into second, so he's going really well too. We saw him go well at Croft, didn't we, Michael Downey? He got a third there. He's had a 6th and a 12th in the other races, so this is Michael Downey's best performance in second place.
The 46 car, that's the 4th place car, the Ashmore and Taylor car, that's also now going to have to serve a penalty, we think, for a pit stop infringement. So that could be for speeding in the pit lane or for not stopping for a sufficient amount of time at the pit stop, possibly.
Of course, that was a car that had moved up through the order rather better than anybody else. Real shame for the Army Motorsport team. Of course, we saw Matthew Taylor on the podium just last weekend at Donington Park, but the podium here is starting to look unlikely, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's got that podium to serve, penalty to serve, though the podium is looking a long way away. So there's that 91 Bird car.
Just ahead is Kuma, but Michael Downey's getting away from them all after making that pass. So Downey is second in the Porsche, and the Clio and the BMW.
Yeah, he's lapping just under 2 minutes. Everyone else is lapping quite a long way over 2 minutes now.
Behind, Pip Hammond is going quicker than all of them, isn't he? But a bit further back, and actually battling with a TWP racing Mazda, is Pip Hammond.
Yeah.
And so therefore he should be there. He is ahead now, isn't he? So Pip Hammond's got ahead of Nick Dougal.
Yes, he has.
And so he's only 20 seconds behind that bad of a second. We had the report that he should be getting a penalty, whether that's been rescinded.
Yeah, I don't think I saw that car come in for that.
No, certainly not. But a podium, if that penalty had disappeared, perhaps they've argued it and found to be correct, they're chasing the car on the screen, which is only 20 or 15 seconds up the road, and Pip Hammond going significantly quicker.
Right, Imran Khan has just come through in the car that's second in Class C, and he's not getting any closer, is he, to Nick Dougal in the lead of Class C. The gap between them about 36 seconds, so it's been around about 30, 35 seconds for quite a few laps. So it looks like a class win might not be on today for Lightstead and Khan, but I guess with Steve... what am I trying to say? Steve Cheatham, that's the man whose name I was trying to find, not having success in his class today, then it could be worse with still 2 meetings to go this season.
And of course, within the Class C Championship, they're ahead of Darren Kell, who's their closest rivals, although behind John Munro and Nick Dougal, but they're a bit further back. So, because I guess really their aim is the Class C Championship, because they can't do much about the overall on merit, so they've got to do what they can do. And second in class is a good effort. There's still a decent amount of time left, isn't there? 40 minutes on the clock. There's the 4th place car in Class B, the Bird and Owen machine. That lap, it was a slower lap from Downey, so Kuma can get back towards him. So So second place in Class B, the podium positions in Class B absolutely still on, and is Pip Hammond still catching them all? He's what, 2 seconds or 1.5 seconds quicker than most of them in front. He's only 12 seconds behind this Andrew Bird car. If I give him a first name, it might not be right. The Bird and Owen car that makes its way on the screens. Pip Hammond, his pace, and if he can consistently lap at that pace, the podium could be on, but he has got Luke Handley in the Civic chasing after him. So there's a couple of cars there, Ian, catching all the podium cars.
Yeah, so that could liven things up, that's for sure. As we're watching on screen, there's the Cooper car going through, followed by the Bird number 91. Very nicely turned out BMW, that one as well, I must say. 40 minutes of the race, just under left to go. There's our Class B second place car, number 76, Michael Downey, in his second season of racing then. And just a small elastic gap between second and third within that class at the moment. Car into the pit is the Taylor and Ashmore car, that's the one that's serving its pit stop penalty.
So that moves Stephen Kent onto the Class A podium, doesn't it, in the M3. So that moved it through. It's Colin Gillespie's car coming back out the garage by the looks of it, and it's a decent size penalty for the Army Motorsport car. And you kind of suggest that this is the PDC racing car, the penalty has disappeared on that one because it would be getting a black flag, wouldn't it, after this amount of time?
Yeah.
The car we see on the screen at the moment, actually, now Pip Hammond, so hopefully for them that they haven't got a penalty to serve and they can chase after those other Class B cars, but he should have Luke Handley. Yes, he does, not that far behind. So these are two cars that are quicker than the cars they're chasing in what is fifth and sixth in class, but chasing the podium position cars up across the line. Pip Hammond, he was 12 seconds behind. He's still actually 12 seconds, so he didn't gain so much on that lap.
Okay, I think possibly we can head back down to the pit lane once again, can we, to hear some more from Jacob Harris. Wait to see if we can hear from Jacob. We can hear he's ready to come in and talk to us, but we're not quite hearing from him just yet. So, meanwhile...
We're down here with Gavin from PDC Racing. Gavin, how's your race going? I understand you're about fourth in class.
Yeah, I think we're up to fourth in class now. It was an interesting start. There's a big crash, I think, on turn one that we had to try and get through. I got a bit bogged down in my stint, but we pitted on the safety car. I think we're in a good place in fourth, yep.
And we're 11th overall. Do you reckon you can push your way into the top 10?
I think so. There's usually a bit of attrition late on in these races. We've got Pip slightly quicker than me round Oulton Park, so he's gaining all the time. So I think we're quite confident, yeah, and hopeful for a podium today. We'll see.
All right, then tell us a bit about the car you got. I understand it's a Porsche, right?
It is, yeah. We're racing a Porsche Boxster S. It's pretty much standard, to be honest. We didn't want to develop the car too much mid-season with a view to what we're going to do next year. So it's a standard Boxster S really for the road, new suspension. Got some MRF tyres on it this weekend, and it's going okay. We're a bit down on power, but it's going okay.
Can you share with us those plans for next year, or is it all top secret?
We're not 100% sure yet. I think we may go sprint. We may run a car in enduro. We're not too sure yet.
Well, all the best for whatever you do, and hopefully you can pick up a few places in this race.
Thanks for your time. Cheers. Thank you.
Nice one. Ian, Josh, back to you guys.
On our screens, we'd got Joe Taylor with his hand in the air. Whether he was just indicating to another driver it was okay to come past, I'm not quite sure. But or if I think he's just waving drivers past him now, isn't he? I don't think he's intending to come in. I think he is still circulating. Or is he going to come in? Because he's really, really, really slow this time. I think there is a bit of trim off the front of the leading car. I know you were not sure that was the case earlier on, but there's a bit of trim off the numbers. Yeah, Joe Taylor is continuing, by the way.
On that latest lap, Pip Hammond brought a couple of seconds back towards the Bird and Owen car, so he's certainly getting closer. So by the end of the race, he should get there. They are fifth in Class B, with Alan Burgess and Chris Nyland's NSX a lap ahead of the rest. But very competitive behind between Downey, Coomer, Bird, Hammond and Handley. And Pip Hammond is keeping Luke Handley at bay, which is good for him. And across the line there's Ivor Mayers, who's handed over to Phil Dryber, the ex-British GT driver. who ended his British GT career in a massive accident at Brands Hatch when he rolled halfway down the straight towards Hawthorns, and so I think that ended his Aston Martin ambitions.
Yeah.
Good to see him back out there in endurance racing in Ivor Mears' BMW.
Of course, the 300th British GT race being celebrated this weekend at Donington Park, but this is where it's at today, here at Oulton Park, and it's Phil Dryborough and Charlie Campbell in the Peugeot RCZ having a little bit of a scrap there. Blue flags are waving as well, because I think there are some quicker cars trying to make their way through. The Giannetta's just behind them, and so too is Imran Khan, I think.
Yeah.
Behind those cars.
Now in Class C, Nick Dougal is 13th on the road and Imran Khan is 14th, so they are together on the screens for the first time. It's still at 35 seconds, and it has been for a long time between them. So the real difference was made in that first stint by by John Monroe's pace over Andrew Lightstead.
Interesting though, Imran Khan has just done that car's best lap of the race, 2:01.94, so going faster than Andrew Lightstead did in the first phase. So that's interesting for one of the cars that's in contention for the overall championship this season.
He's just coming out to Knickerbrook as the class leader comes across the line, so that's what the gap is sort of on the circuit. Battle for the overall lead. Is that big moment there on the screens as 150 as Stephen Kent was locked up over the grass, but he saved it. My point I was about to make was that Chris Nyland's got the lead gap to Rob Baker down to 16 seconds, so it's certainly not going up, but he is being caught by Owen Fitzgerald, which come down, well, not on that last lap, but it has come down to 15 seconds. So that means Fitzgerald is catching Baker, but you kind of wonder if Baker needs to bring out more pace. He should be able to do that.
Yeah, Joe Taylor waving cars past him. He'll have an aching right arm by the end of this race, with the way he's waving all the cars through. And he is a long way off the pace, probably 45 seconds off the pace that he would have been in if the car was running well. So pretty much 50% slower than it normally would be, that car, unfortunately. But he is driving around for points, so that shows that he is interested in trying to get something out of this year's championship. And obviously with Sajakowski and Whitmore being early retirements, he will take the, well, I don't think he'll take the class championship lead, but he'll narrow the gap to Sajakowski and Whitmore here. I think he's got to be watched out for is that he completes enough laps to be classified.
I think it's only need 50%, isn't it?
Yeah,
because you
so
do
he
see
should do
people
that.
get classified who sort of finish a long way behind, so they should be okay. Interesting battle just going across the line, and that's a change because Will Ashmore and Matty Taylor have gone ahead of the Sayat of Paul Huxley and John Gardner. And of course, that number 16 Sayat is a car. I think now we've got it all in Class A championship contention.
Well, yes, because it's the one out there today that's going to score best of the sort of top four, indeed top five, top six in the championship in Class A, because Sajakowski and Whitmore are DNF, Taylor struggling, Mick and Chris Brown not here, the 74 Porsche not here, Richard Bacon not here, so it's actually faring best of all of the Class A championship contenders here this weekend.
Yeah, we're just losing that fourth position to the BMW Compact, but still in the top five. It hasn't been massively successful on results, but successful over the course of the season. The best result for it in class was a fourth at the first round at Donington, and had a 10th, a 9th, a 6th and a 6th, but consistently scoring the points, which within Class A in 2019 is something that is important to a good result.
The invitation class Gianetta just dropping down through Dentons towards Cascades.
That's a car that's had, I think, 3 stops, isn't it? It's had a couple of stops, I think, for grass removal, and they're running in 7th position at the moment.
Yeah, it's had some spins as well. And talking of which,
The NSX.
the NSX is off, and also the 191 Philip Nagel BMW 325 Ti has stopped. And
Big damage on that car,
he's
I
had
think.
quite a lot of damage to the front of that car. He clipped the NSX, we're hearing. That's going to need a suspended tow. The marshal is signalling there. You can see in the background, you can see the 750 Motor Club rescue crew also on the scene there as well. So that's at the exit of Britain's chicane. That car clipping the Class B leading NSX.
Slow, is it slow, the NSX? Well, the rear corner looks damaged to the rear corner. So, of course, it's the car that's leading its class by a lap, which really would bring the Class B battle open.
Yeah, look, damage to the tyre. It's flat. It's a flat tyre on that car now. So, and the wheel, well, it's got quite a lot of camber on it anyway, so hard to tell if there's some damage to that. But that car's surely going to be pit lane bound.
Can it get? It's got a couple of minutes to fix the car before Downey, Kuma, Bird, Hammond, and Handley all come through. So it could be a 5-car battle for Class B at the end.
And of course, that was trying to avoid the crabbing Steve Cheetham car. Now it's crabbing itself into the pit lane. Not quite as severely though as Cheetham was, I must say, earlier on.
So this is the TI Motorsport team. They're ready with a new tyre, so they are prepared. And of course, it was Chris Nyland at Silverstone, wasn't it? Who didn't know he had a problem in that Civic, and they couldn't work out what the problem was. But the team look like they're doing the same reactions as they did to Luke Sedgwickowski. So I don't think we'll see that car go back out. They reckon there's more. Yeah, the camber's not right on that.
Yeah, I didn't think it was. So that looks like it's going to be out of the race. So from the Class B lead, well, nobody wants to win Class B today. Off has gone Charlie Campbell
from Class
Druids.
B.
Another Class B driver, but not in the lead of it.
Looks like he's going to get going.
Meanwhile, as you can see just behind the Nyland car there, he has got going. He's now reversed into the gravel trap. But not too deep, I don't think. The 93 car, I'm trying to get it out, is Jeff Gourier. Just in the background there, you can see he's also in the pit lane. So that's a
safety car.
Safety car coming out. And that, I suspect, is because the 191 Philip Nagel car that's stranded out there at Britain's.
There's significant damage on that front right corner, isn't there?
It was a hefty clip then, by the looks of it. As evidenced by the degree of damage on the Nyland car.
This will bring Owen Fitzgerald right back to Rob Baker. I know there's going to be cars between them, but I suspect that's going to be pretty significant. Also, even more... no, not as much... The Class B cars haven't quite been separated. I thought they were going to be, but Rob Baker just lapped Michael Downey, so that's going to bring the Class B cars right together. If Downey was in front of Baker, he would have got out in front of the safety car, and he would have basically had a lap on the field.
Yeah.
So that means they're all going to be together. So we're going to have Downey, Kuma, Bird, Hammond and Handley, 5 cars in Class B, all battling together. That's going to be really interesting to watch.
Let's have a quick rundown on the order then. So it's going to be 6... Is the Nyland car's going back out into the race.
So is it still leading the class? It is.
Yeah. Well, let's give it a lap before we give you a rundown on the order, because it could change again. Well, yeah, that's not right. That is not right. You can see on your screen that the left rear wheel, the camber on that was more than it should be, so I suspect that might not be much longer. It's probably worth getting it out just to see what it'd be like, especially as it's behind the safety car, so there's not too much to lose there, I guess. But I think that will need to come back in. So we've got 25 minutes or so of this race left to go. Still Rob Baker leading the way in the Seat from Owen Fitzgerald in the BMW, and then it's Stephen Kent in another BMW in 3rd place. But there you can see the Nyland car just tucked in behind Darren Cowell's green Mazda MX-5. So 2nd safety car intervention in the Tiki World Club Enduro Championship race. Steve Hewson at the wheel of the safety car, part of last year's championship winning team, of course, in Club Enduro, when he shared with Matt Nossiter to go to the Club Enduro Championship title.
Steve Hewson had a good run out in his 106 last weekend at Donington, didn't he? Included a massive off into the chicane on oil when the car went hard right. But he saved it pretty well and actually didn't lose too much time in the meantime. But yes, had a good result in his 106, returning to on-track competition. There is the damaged NSX. Now, is Chris Nyland going to try and put up with it for the rest of the race, or will he be for the pit? We've got 25 minutes to go. The recovery's got to be done, so that's going to be another lap or so at least. And it's all eyes are going to be on the Class B battle, that's for sure, isn't it, Ian? With those 5 cars all in contention. And really, the quickest ones are at the back of that 5... The 5 of them, the Pip Hammond and the Luke Handley duo.
How many cars do we reckon are between Imran Khan and Nick Dougal?
Yeah, that's the other thing, isn't it?
Because those are the 2 Class C leaders. Nick Dougal ahead. I mean, there was 40 seconds between them when the safety car went out. But that will come down, clearly. But it's a question of how many cars there are in between them on track.
Pip Hammond was saying to me earlier that he likes to get his elbows out sprint style, and I think he's going to have the absolute opportunity to do that, isn't he? With hardly any cars between... There's just one car amongst those 5 Class B cars.
Yeah.
You've got Rob Baker, the overall leader, ahead of them all, and then you've got amongst them the MR2 and Martin Buckland. Otherwise, all those 5 Class B cars are together. There's not that many cars between Baker and Owen Fitzgerald in Class A either. There's the Mazda of Dougal. How many... Again, you've only got about half a dozen cars between him and Imran Khan. So there's certainly interest when this restart occurs. It's going to be about a 20-minute race, isn't it?
Yeah.
When we get going. You also got Stephen Kent, see what sort of pace he can do in Class A too. So you've got Baker, Fitzgerald and Kent in Class A battling out. Class B is still led by Chris Nylon by almost a lap. So if he could carry on about 5 seconds a lap off the pace or so.
Yeah.
I guess they wish they didn't come into the pits because they would have had 2 laps on the field at that point, but that's how it is.
Let's run down the order then. 6, Rob Baker leads. 8, Owen Fitzgerald is second. 150, Stephen Kent is third. 46, Will Ashmore, Matty Taylor, fourth. 5th is the 16 car of John Gardner, I think it is, for the second half of the race in the Seat. 6th then is the Class B leading Honda NSX of Chris Nyland. 7th is the invitation class car, David Trigg, the Janetta. 8th is number 76, Michael Downey. 9th is the 27 car, Chris Coomer, the Clio. 10th is the number 91 Bird BMW. 11th is the 719 Hammond Porsche Boxster. 12th is the 51 Luke Handley Civic. 13th is the Class C leading number 73 Nick Dougal MX-5. 14th is number 79, that's Imran Khan's BMW. 15th is number 55, Simon Wallace now in the Seat. 16th is number 10, the Lotus of Simon Middleton. 17th, number 68 is Darren Kell. 18th is number 36, Sam McKee. 19th is number 19, which, excuse me, is Martin Buckland. Running out the top 20 is number 4, Charlie Campbell.
So you've also got that battle of third in Class C to look out for as well in this restart. Darren Kell versus Sam McKee, only a few cars in between them. So multiple battles to watch in what's been, I guess, especially the second part's been a pretty confusing club enduro race, hasn't it? With the safety car in the middle mixing things up, and so much attrition throughout the field. There's the NSX, still damaged. But we're going to have about 10 laps to go, aren't we?
Yes.
And a lap's about 2 minutes. So it can afford to be about 10 seconds off the pace, Chris Nylon, can't he? And still win Class B.
We talk about a lot of attrition, but actually I reckon there's only 6 cars that are not still running.
I guess
Down here with Matt Taylor from Army Motorsport. Matt, currently running in 4th place.
Yeah, currently in 4th. Chuff to Mark. I did the first stint, did just under an hour, and I think we were in 5th place straight after. Got up to 3rd. We were holding 3rd, I believe, but we have had a stop and go penalty. We're not quite sure what for yet, so we're going to have to wait till the end and check a bit of cameras, see if we can get some time back.
Obviously, we're under safety car conditions at the minute. Are you confident on the restart?
I am confident. Will's a better driver than me. He's extremely quick, very calm and cool. So I'm pretty confident he's just going to do a gleaming few laps now. Who knows, even make an overtake would be quite nice.
I was going to say, can you get on the podium? There he is, he's going past now. Podium not necessarily out of the question.
Podium's definitely not out of the question. I'm in an old 20-year-old compact, as we say, that I've built myself against these rather expensive cars. So if we can get a podium, it'll be absolutely amazing.
And tell us a little bit about your team quickly. I've noticed you're all in matching uniforms, shall we say?
Yeah, so we race for the British Army. We're members of the British Army. We've got a few different race series we race in. The Armed Forces Race Challenge, which is Army, Navy, RAF. And then we've got one car. We've just come up to this endurance racing, trying to move on. It's good. We're growing. The Army kind of lets us do it. They help out a little bit financially. So that's our excuse for staying in the Army anyway.
It's great to hear. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the race, and obviously, thank you very much for your service.
No, thank you. It's been great. Hopefully, we're going to get on the podium. Let's go.
Cheers, Matt. Ian, Josh, back up to you.
Yeah, with 19 minutes of the race left to go. Safety car is still out there for the moment. it's just making its way down to actually where the car's being recovered from. Britain's, the 191 car of Philip Nagel that was involved in that incident with the Class B leading Chris Nyland. Sorry, it was Chris Nyland Honda NSX. You can see the cars. There is the NSX actually that we were talking about just coming through. We're now got a warning for 81 Matthew Tidmarsh and also for Luke Handley, number 51. Now, it did strike me that some of the earlier penalties that we had might have been related to safety car infringements rather than anything else. It could well have been, judging from what they were, because they did happen around about the time or shortly after the time the safety car was out. We've not been given official notification of that. I'm not sure that car's handling well. It's not too bad at this speed, but I think get that up to race speed, that's going to be an absolute nightmare to drive the NSX.
It doesn't need to run at anywhere near top pace, does it? So I think it's worth trying.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing, obviously, if it ends up in the wall, that's probably perhaps it's not worth that sacrifice. But if Chris Nyland can keep it under control, he's obviously happy to do so, otherwise he wouldn't still be out there. I think the safety car should be in this lap.
Yeah, it looks like, well, the safety car has sped up because it's completely disappeared. So that's going to head into the pit lane. We're going to get the race back underway with about 17 minutes of the race left to go, so probably we'll get 9 laps out of this. I would think maybe 10. Green flag waves and the race back underway, Josh.
Yes, and it's that battle behind the car that leads the race. Rob Baker for second in Class B, and immediately Pip Hammond goes up the inside and gets what is 4th place in Class B. Luke Handley tries to follow him, can't do it. That's on the bird. And in BMW, Luke Handley still trying to get alongside it up towards Cascades, and I think he will get there eventually. So losing 2 places there did Bird, behind both Hammond and behind Handley. So Pip Hammond up to 4th position in Class B now, and chasing after Chris Coomer just up the road in the Renault Clio. So we thought that would be a battle to watch out for, Ian, and immediately it occurred.
Yeah, absolutely right. No surprise though, Pip Hammond, quite an experienced racer now, and as you said, likes to get stuck in. So leaders of the field now down at the Shell Oil's corner once again with 16 minutes to go, and a big moment and a spin there for the 150 car of Stephen Kent. Not quite sure how that happened really, because it's difficult to see from our angle, but whether he just clipped the inside of the apex there, and that got the car briefly airborne, didn't it, Josh, by the looks of it?
Absolutely. So that will promote the battle between the Seat of John Gardner and the BMW of Will Ashmore into a podium battle. So that's going to be one to watch out for. We heard from Matty Taylor saying he'd like to get that car onto the podium, and that's not going to harm their opportunity. And big damage, isn't there, to the BMW?
Front and rear as well.
So quite what he hit down there at the inside of the...
I'm not sure. It's done quite a lot of damage there. It looks like something underneath the front of the car. Yeah, that has hit something quite hard. Not quite sure what.
No, that's strange. And a penalty now for the William Beach and Chris Coomer podium-placed Class B car, according to the notification on our screen. That battle still being led by Michael Downey, then Chris Coomer, then Pip Hammond, then Luke Handley as they come up across the line. And for the overall lead, Owen Fitzgerald hasn't lost too much in the traffic. He's 10 seconds behind Rob Baker, so that's a gap just to keep an eye on. And Pip Hammond, you can tell he's in a racy mood. He's just on the personal best lap of the race of that car, 1:59.1, as he chases the Clio of Chris Coomer up towards Cascades. And what's happening in Class C? There's a change. Imran Khan's through because Nick Dougal hasn't returned in the Mazda.
No, he's not. The Mazda has not come back through. I've just seen Imran Khan's go past. I think the Mazda's just coming through now up Deer Leap. Is it coming up? But no, Imran Khan's got a penalty. But Nick Dougal is into the pit lane, presumably with a car-related problem. I can see the team, the TWP team, waiting for Nick Dougal's Mazda now. I can hear that Jacob's down there as well, so Jacob, whenever you're ready to come in, please do.
Meanwhile, Pip Hammond's right on the tail of Chris Coomer now for what is 3rd place in Class B. He was over a second behind at the beginning of the lap. The NSX, and he's only lapping a couple of seconds slower than these cars, so Chris Nyland does look good for a Class B win still.
And it looks like the Dougal car has gone straight into the pit garages. So that looks like that Mazda's out of the race.
This hasn't been a confusing race at all, has it?
Yellow flag's now waving at Hilltop as well. I'm just
I'm
wondering
down
if that's...
here with John from Canet Racing. John, tell us a little bit about your team name.
All right, well, our team name, well, one of us is Canadian, which is me. I was born there, and my teammate is Italian, so hence you've got the old Can-Am in America. We are Canet, so can it or can it? Can it? Can we do it? But that was really how it was derived.
And I've heard you nearly did Canet earlier on.
Canet on the around Cascades. Yeah, I thought I'd take advantage of everyone else's cold tyres, neglecting to realise that mine, in fact, were cold too. And I binned it, went off the track, and obviously started out dead last. So just one of those things, isn't it?
Have you managed to recover them?
I think so. My buddy's better than me, so he's got us up, I think, to somewhere in the region of 23rd overall, and about 8th in class. So that's kind of where we're expecting. It's only our second outing ever in Club Enduro, so we're just trying to get the signatures.
Second ever. Will there be a third?
I think there will be a third, as long as we can keep the car together and we don't crash again. I think we'll be there. Definitely, it's absolutely great fun. Love it.
Glad to hear it. Thanks for talking to us, John. And I've also got Adam here, who's a little bit preoccupied talking to David. But Adam, we spoke to your teammate earlier. How's you getting on out there?
Seems to be going pretty good, yeah. The car was absolutely fine when I got out, and it seems from his signals that there's nothing else untoward at the moment. So yeah, it seems to be going strong, pretty consistent. I think I might have seen the class leader just park it in the pit lane, so we may have just got onto the podium for now, but we'll wait and check with the timings to double confirm that. But a good day considering where we were yesterday.
Brilliant. Thanks for chatting with us. Ian, Josh, class leader in the pit lane apparently.
Yeah, so Adam Mealand we're hearing from there with Jacob, and yes, the Nick Dougal car was into the pit lane, it was into the garages as well, so that will drop down the order. So Class C now has Imran Khan leading it, number 79, from in second place, number 68, Darren Kell, and third now, number 36, Sam McKee. So that is the way of that, subject to confirmation, but we did see notification of a penalty for Imran Khan, we thought. Meanwhile, what's been going on in Class B, Josh?
We saw Michael Downey, he went off the road at Lodge Corner, and while that was happening, Pip Hammond got past Chris Coomer. So it's still the NSX that leads there. That's Chris Nylon, but Pip Hammond up to second now, Chris Coomer third, fourth Luke County, and Michael Downey's off, drops him down into fifth position. Overall leaders across the line, the gap's still 10 seconds between Rob Baker and Owen Fitzgerald, but on your screens is the third place battle between John Gardner and Will Ashmore. There's not much between them. There's a set at the front of the screen and being chased by the BMW Compact with still 11 minutes of the race to go. Here's the battle for side by side, isn't it? Sam McKee's going up the inside of Darren Kell. This is the second in Class C. And they are still going to be side by side on the exit of the corner. And it's Sam McKee's going to have the inside line here, Ian, on the run up towards Oulton.
Yeah, absolutely right. As they come in, and that's Imran Khan coming in from the pit stop. So that means that Sam McKee
another lap behind.
Is a lap behind. But depending on how long this penalty is that Imran Khan has got to serve, that could have been Sam McKee effectively taking the Class C lead. So Sam McKee has done that now. It's only a short stop-and-go penalty effectively for Imran Khan, so he'll keep the lead. So if I refer to my list of penalties, I'll try and work out what that was for.
And Andrew Lightstead desperately trying to let his teammate know they are leading the class and no need to overdrive in these last few minutes. So up to second in Class C has come Sam McKee, ahead of Darren Kell, and he's starting to pull away immediately. So Sam McKee on good pace there.
I can't work out what that penalty's for, but never mind.
Well, you wondered about safety cars, didn't you? And that was...
Yeah, but that would be at least a 30-second stop and go, which that wasn't. So.
OK. Sam McKee still trying to get past this Toyota, trying to put a lap on it, so that's going to hold him up and bring Darren Kell back towards the BMW. So this is for second and third in Class C. Sam McKee in the BMW, it's Darren Kell in the Mazda. And this Class B Toyota they're trying to lap isn't being particularly helpful, and Darren Kell tries to come up the inside, can't get there. Meanwhile, the gap for the overall lead's coming right down because Owen Fitzgerald, just doing a personal best lap, is down to 7 seconds behind Rob Baker. So really strong pace there from Owen Fitzgerald on the latest lap.
Yeah, 7.2 seconds between them. It was a much slower lap for Rob Baker than a 1:54.04. So across the line goes Pip Hammond in Class B. We've got a desperate pit signal being given, I think, to Luke Handley there.
Who's trying to get past Chris Coomer for third in Class C. Couldn't quite get there. And of course, they're team cars too, the two area motorsport machines.
Here is this battle for Class C second place, and up the inside goes Darren Kell, and he retakes second place in Class C away from Sam McKee, but a big moment, and Sam McKee will get back alongside him now as they come up and over the line to complete another lap. The door handlers, they come up to us this time. They're 3 wide with the 91 BMW as well, and it's just about Darren Kell that holds on to that, but this is sprint race stuff, Josh.
He's gone off, Darren Kell's gone off across the grass, and Sam McKee has to go on the grass on the inside to avoid if he's bouncing across the grass, but he goes back through. Absolutely extraordinary race, and Darren Kell's still having a moment when he gets to Cascade. Martin Buckland let these two through, and then they almost crash in front of him. They just avoided it. Absolutely crazy race this has turned into in.
Yeah, so also involved there was the 91 Bird BMW as well, which indicates that's slowing down, and it was 8 seconds off its best lap that time through, so I think that 91 BMW has possibly got problems.
Absolutely, and that's allowed Michael Downey back into 4th, even though he's actually been having slow laps recently too. So Downey, that's 5th for him now in Class B, isn't it? The battle, though, in Class C continues up towards the Britain chicane, because Darren Kell and Sam McKee, where's Sam McKee? He's pulling away, isn't he, in fact? So McKee pulling away from Darren Kell. They're just being lapped by Will Ashmore, who had fallen away, by the way, from John Gardner's Sayat for 3rd. So Gardner pulling away from Ashmore. Has he got an issue in the compact? Just a bit of a lock-up into the chicane there at Hislops.
Meanwhile, about 7.5 or 7.25 minutes to go now. It's still Rob Baker now leading, 8.5 seconds ahead. So it has gone out a little bit on the last lap to Owen Fitzgerald in 2nd place. And Class B in 3rd position, Class B leader, I should say, is still Chris Nyland, effective with most of a lap on Pip Hammond.
Personal best on that last lap from John Gardner, so he's picking his pace up to try and get this podium in the Sayat. He is in a podium position at the moment. So it's Baker, Fitzgerald, Gardner, Ashmore, the 4 Class A cars at the front. Class B is Chris Nylon, who's not really lapping any slower than the other cars despite the damage, and Hammond, Coomer, Handley, Downey and Bird. And Bird's going to lose a place with his pace, isn't he, to Stuart Middleton in the Lotus that he's chasing it. Simon Middleton, Lotus is pretty much with the BMW now. On the screen there, you've got Darren Kell trying to get back past his Toyota, which he does. So he puts a lap on that on the exit of Cascade and try and go back after the 2nd place car within the class, which is Sam McKee. But McKee now 3 seconds ahead.
Yes, McKee just disappearing out of shot there. Field making their way around the Shell Oils corner at the far extremities of this 2.7 mile Oulton Park International Circuit. There you can see the Martin Buckland Forza Motorsport liveried MR2. 5.5 minutes of the race left to go, so we are getting towards the end now. Keep an eye on the lead gap. It came down a few tenths that time, but it's still about 8 seconds between Rob Baker and Owen Fitzgerald.
Here's the Class B battle for 2nd in that class. There's Pip Hammond. He is ahead of Chris Coomer by a couple of seconds, but Coomer's got Luke Handley's Honda not that far back as they turn their way out of Old Hull, but they're all still behind Chris Nyland's Honda, who's the best part of a lap ahead of them all. And you've also got the Sayat in there, that's 3rd overall. So this could be their first podium, couldn't it, for Paul Huckley and John Gardner?
Yeah, could well be, as things stand.
And they've really pulled away from Will Ashmore now, 25 seconds. They were battling for that position earlier, so perhaps a bit of an issue for Ashmore.
Yeah, they were much closer in the early stages of this race. There's Simon Wallace. I mean, he's struggling to get ahead of Pip Hammond's car, although he's in a Class A car compared to Pip's Class B Boxster.
Yeah, 3rd place for Gardner and Huxley will bring them right into contention in the Class A Championship.
It will indeed. That 91 car, that's sounding very rough as it's coming past me, which is explaining why that was dropping back down the order, that's for certain. Meanwhile, Imran Khan goes through. I mean, as far as the championship is concerned, it's gone just about as well as Imran Khan and Andrew Lightstead could have asked for today. Touch wood, it looks like they're going to get a class win. Are they getting class fastest lap as well? No, they're not. Because
imagine John Munro might have that.
Yeah, I mean, actually, they've only got about the 4th fastest lap, or maybe even 5th fastest lap within that class looking at things. So they'll drop 1 point there, but no finish for Steve Cheetham and no finish for the Class A leaders either, although they were much further down in the overall point standings.
Just a couple of laps probably to go now for everybody out there. See Joe Taylor, he's going to make it to the end, isn't he, in his Lotus. He's slow in.
If he times this right, he could only do out 1 more lap, I think, which is probably what he'd quite like to do. 3 minutes, 12 seconds to go. There's the Lightstead car, it's catching that slowing 91 machine.
Cleo into the pits, so this is Chris Coomer, I think, with a penalty we saw, didn't we, for those guys. So that's out of 3rd in Class B. So Luke Handley will move into 3rd now.
Yeah, so that changes things there. Michael Downey will be probably up to 4th as a result as well. In the box there, he's over the line now, the orange car. But it looks like it's going to be Chris Nyland that comes home in the Class B victory here.
Incredibly, really, after what a race they've had. There's Sam McKee, and he has got this gap still over Darren Kell of, 4.5 seconds or so. So that looks fine for 2nd position in class. Matthew Chidmarsh, who had that incident at Druids, he's 4th still.
Yeah, that's quite an effort, isn't it? Because that was quite heavy damage, it looked, on the front of the car, but it probably was just bodywork more than anything more mechanical.
Oh, bit wide there for somebody. That's Phil Dryber, isn't it, in the Ivor Mares BMW?
Yeah, Andy Waters has shared that car on occasion this season. The 91 car, which sounded rough, has now come in. The Bird BMW looks to be, well, probably out of the race unless they just take it, get it out again before the checkered flag to do a final lap. But we are now less than a lap time away from the checkered flag, so the last lap board I can see is being prepared. It's going back out, the 91 car. Back into the race.
Pip Hammond's got a decent gap now for 2nd in class over Luke Handley, hasn't he? There's that BMW that sort of just drove through the pits and went back out again. So waiting for the... Have we had the leaders through?
Well, I don't think... Here we go.
No, so they're going to have another lap, aren't they? 6.5 seconds apart they are, Rob Baker and Owen Fitzgerald. I think it might be tight, because at 3rd place come through with 55 seconds on the clock, so they're just going to squeeze, I think, the 2 leaders 1 more lap in, but only just.
Yeah, it does look that way. Just trying to work out exactly where they are on circuit. 50 seconds left to go.
Yeah, slower last lap from John Gardner in the Seat, but I think should be okay for 3rd, provided he can keep an all right pace to the end, and it won't bring Will Ashmore back into a possible podium spot.
Joe Taylor's going to have to do 1 more lap. He's coming across the line very slowly now, but there's only 25 seconds to go. I think our leaders are just about at Lodge Corner. So I think we are going to get 1 more lap to go in this Tagiwa Club Enduro race. It's the last lap board being prepared. Last lap board goes out now with just about 10 seconds to go to our race leaders, Rob Baker, showing with Carl Swift and then Owen Fitzgerald. The gap between those two now is 5.3 seconds. It came down another 1.2 seconds that lap, Josh.
In the first half of the race, you never would have thought the battle would be that close between them, would you? So into Cascades turns Rob Baker, the reigning Civic Cup champion. He's, like we say, just 5 seconds ahead of Owen Fitzgerald, who's been going really well throughout his stint. A podium finisher in the past in this series, and it looks like they're going to add another one to that tally.
Yeah, you can see there's the leader just turning his way around Shalloy's corner, as turning into it was Owen Fitzgerald. So Rob Baker then going really well here. Good, strong stint in the Seat Leon TCR. Of course, this Giro had the Honda for the early part of the season, getting 5th, 11th, a DNF and a 9th. So it'll be their first win of the season, prompted possibly by the change in machinery, getting past that Martin Buckland Toyota there. Carl Swifter can now see, just watching from the pit wall, waiting to see the car come through. Well, you've got another 30 seconds or so yet, Carl, because it's just climbing up Clay Hill towards Druids for the final time, Josh.
Yep, so this pairing have won before in that Civic, but that was a couple of years ago now at Silverstone. Cole Swift in a similar car won the Burkitt last year, didn't he, in the overall positioning, but now they're going to take this area motorsport south. I don't think it's actually done that much racing, has it? The Deegans raced at the Burkitt, but I don't think they've done much more. But a great first stint from Cole Swift. Rob Baker's done what he needed to do, Ian, in the second hour, and they're coming through up Deersley.
Yeah, taking the checkered flag then to win the Tagiwa Club Enduro Championship race. Up on the pit wall is Carl Swift celebrating the victory for the team, and just 4 seconds the gap at the end back to Owen Fitzgerald and Rory Hind in second place in their BMW M3. A good late surge from them, but not quite close enough to make it work. And there's our Class C winner as well.
And that's Andrew Lightstead, who started Imran Khan, finished in that BMW. So that's the 4th win of the season for Lightstead and Khan. But potentially the most extraordinary win is going to come from Class B. Through the Hislop chicane at the moment is Chris Nylon. I don't think anybody else is going to complete the amount of laps they have done. So that's Chris Nylon's just got to bring it home. And it looks like he's going to Adam Burgess doing the first stint. It's been the dominant car really in the class. The only time it was hampered was when there was that contact with another car in the middle of the race. Just going to see if Pip Hammond can hold on to second in that class as well, because they should get there first. Across the line, meanwhile, for third overall comes John Gardner, so him and Paul Huxley get their first podium.
As Pip Hammond does indeed come across the line now to take second place within Class B, pursued by Luke Handley, number 51. But yeah, so that's second and third within that class, and there is the Class B winner just going over the line now. That's Chris Nyland. So that's a good effort, given the dramas that they had in the sort of later stages of that race to get the Class B win. So Class A win to Carl Swift and Rob Baker, Class B to Chris Nyland and Alan Burgess, Class C to Adam Lightstead and Imran Khan. By my reckoning, what that does to the championship with Steve Cheetham a non-finisher today is it puts Andrew Lightstead and Imran Khan just 1 point behind in the championship. So Cheetham now has 75, Lightstead and Khan 74, and they're both now going to be dropping similar kinds of scores, I think. Darren and James Kellogg, though James not racing here today, he'll have 67 points, and then the next nearest car in the championship will be about 20 points behind them. So overall, into the last 2 meetings of the season, it's between those three mathematically now, I think, for the championship.
It's Cheatham's won 4 and Lightstead and Khan have won 4 too, haven't they? So they've had, as you say, fairly similar seasons up to this point, with Snetterton and Silverstone still to go, and I suspect particularly at Silverstone we might have a really strong competition there as well, which really dice it up if we can get that into the last round. Then we've also got the Class A championship battle, which is going to be interesting, I think, with Sedgwickowski and Whitmore, Joe Taylor, the Browns, who weren't here, and the John Gardner and Paul Huxley say it, really all battling for that. And if Cole Swift and Rob Baker can continue this performance in that car for the rest of the season, that's going to be another car to bring into that Class A championship battle. So quite a few things to watch out for the rest of the season. Absolutely.
Looking forward to Snetterton. That's in about 4 weeks' time, and then I think another fortnight after that we'll have the final meeting of the season on the Grand Prix circuit at Silverstone here towards the end of October. So look forward to seeing that. A dramatic race, quite a lot of attrition, so we lost our pole position driver Leon Bidgeway quite early on, didn't we, in his Lotus Exige. Joe Taylor had all kinds of problems in his Lotus. Of course, Luke Sedgwickowski, despite being very quick off the line, that was an early retirement, so David Whitmore didn't get to drive that car. Peter Moulsdale and Stephen Kent had that strange accident down at the hairpin. So really, of the drivers that started in the top 6 places, there was 4 of them that were in real trouble at some point during that race.
Absolutely. Just looking at the classes, for second in Class C, Sam McKee was caught by Darren Keller at the end and only beat him by about a second. So that battle went right to the flag after 2 hours of racing. It's quite an extraordinary race, as we say, with so much going on throughout the distance.
And that's the great thing about the TQR Club Enduro Championship, isn't it? It's not just about the overall battle. Everyone in that race will have a story to tell, won't they? Of some incident or some drama or a great move that they made. It's just what makes it a really fantastic championship at this level.
And it's sort of proper, good old proper traditional endurance racing where you have to look after your car throughout the distance. Nowadays with GT3 racing, for example, you sort of just drive the car flat out and it won't break, and that's not the situation here. So it sort of takes you back to I say a good proper endurance race, even though it is only a couple of hours. Some people might not say that's a proper endurance race, but there's plenty of problems out there. So it's a great distance of races, and we've got two more to look forward to, which I'm sure will have big grids. This, with 34 starters, was the smallest grid of the year so far as well, which is a pretty good success, I think.
It certainly is, and it gave a great race as well. Well, I can see that Jacob is now getting ready down in the pit lane. Hopefully before too much longer he will have some drivers to talk to. I suspect we'll have some class winners as well as the overall winners, Carl Swift and Rob Baker, for him to talk to. Before we look ahead to our remaining races, still got 4 races to come here at Oulton Park this afternoon. For those of you that were here before lunch, those 4 categories will all be back out for their second races of the day on a beautiful afternoon here at Oulton Park. We've been really blessed with some tremendous weather. I can see now drivers are now heading towards our interviewer, Jacob Harris. So I am going to go down to Jacob now, and he will see who he's got to talk to.
We're down here with Class C winner Imran. Imran, tough race out there.
Yeah, it was really tough. I think the guy that was in first place was way faster than us, but I think he had a little incident after the safety car, which is a shame for him. I really don't know where we were for most of that stint, to be honest. I think we were third, then second before my stint with Andrew driving, and then we changed over during the safety car, which I think was a really good strategy. I think we came out second, and then, the safety car came out, and I didn't really know what was going on. I just kept going as fast as I could, and I saw the MX-5 in the barriers, so I thought, no, that must be first, and fortunately it was. So we were a bit lucky today, but you got to take it when it comes.
Excellent. And we got your teammate here. Sorry, I've forgotten your name. Andrew, come on in and have a quick chat. Come on into shot. This class victory and indeed the overall result puts you in strong contention for the overall title.
Yeah, it does, and I think we've got, out of the last 2, if we can just win one more, that'll be 6 victories, and then it's between us and Steve Cheatham for overall, which is a real surprise compared to where we thought we'd be just starting off. You know, his first time into Club Enduro, all a bit of a new experience. Imran tried to make the weekend difficult this morning in practice by bounding across the grass. He didn't mention that then, did he? No, but I feel really sorry for the guys in the 73 car. They were looking pretty strong today. And I just found out that the brake line snapped on their car, which, you know, it's not the way that I'd like the racing challenges to end, but yeah, can't complain actually either.
Yeah, a bit of misfortune for them. How strong are you at the remaining tracks?
I really like Snetterton. I've won there in Stockhatch, and I was running in first place in the 330 challenge last year until the very last corner where I made a slight error and lost a second. So overall, I like the circuit. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident. Imran's all right around there too. So, yeah, I'm pleased with the consistency today.
Glad to hear it. Good luck for the rest of the championship, both, and thank you for chatting with me. Chris Nyland's come to speak to me, and Chris, I've spoken to you already today.
Yeah, you did once. Yeah, that was before the race. Well, we got the result we wanted. Like I said, first in class. It was very, very, very eventful. It was a very difficult race to be honest. But managed to bring the car home. We had a little bit of damage. There was a little bit of contact with one of the back markers when we were overtaking. No fault of his own, I don't think. I think he just made a mistake and then overcorrected and then straight into the side of our car. So we had to make an additional pit stop. We had a puncture, so we changed the tyre and then just managed the race from there on to the end.
And tell us a bit about we were talking about the car before, weren't we? What is it like to race?
It's hard to describe. People talk about balance, and it's just such a well-balanced car. I mean, you can take so much speed into the corner. It is lacking a little bit of power, which I believe is going to be sorted out, but overall, it's just a fantastic car to drive.
Myself and producer David were admiring the shape. It really is a classic 90s sports car, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's got that supercar look. I believe it was one of like the original, one of the first proper supercars. It was developed by Ayrton Senna. So it's it's got a bit of history about it, which is great. So to bring a win in our class anyway, it was great.
Brilliant. Thanks for chatting with us, and all the best for the rest of the season. We have our overall winners up next, I believe. We've already spoken to both of them during the race, but Carl, congratulations on finally completing the win.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's been a long time since we had another Club Enduro win, and using the seats for the right thing, obviously.
Good switch. Do you miss the Civic?
Yeah, I mean, the Civic is fun to drive, and you are hanging it out the whole 2 hours. That were a bit more sedate, so not as much fun, but the results are what count, aren't they?
Guess at the end of the day, it's the Garlands that tell the story. Did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant day.
Thanks for talking. And Rob, what differences are there between Seat Leon and the Honda Civic?
Pretty much what Carl said. The Leon carries its fuel better, loads better than the Civic does. So the Civic's quite light. You put 100 litres in it after qualifying, the lap times drop off tremendously, whereas that carries the fuel really well. And like Carl said, the Civic, you're on the edge of your seat for as long as it'll go for, and that's just a bit easier to pedal around at a decent pace.
What's the differences in aircon like? It's a very hot day today.
There's no ventilation or aircon. Fit racing drivers, you see.
So did you struggle at all in the 2 hours out there today?
Only when I got told I had to push after the last safety car, and we've got some really bad knockoff. So when you go over a curb, brake pedal goes to the floor. So the laps we were doing, we were not touching any curbs, which is obviously a lot slower than doing so. So the last few laps I had to nick a few more and pump the pedal all the way up the straight. So we'll have a look at that. But aside from that, the car's been great all weekend.
All in all, sounds like a solid race.
Yeah, good race. Car did exactly what we wanted to, and we did as a drivers pair, so dead happy.
Same again next time?
Same again next time, Snetterton, yeah.
Brilliant, thanks for chatting with us.
Thank you.
That was your Tegawa Club Enduro Championship, 2 hours of non-stop racing. Next up, we've got another round of racing from our other classes, first of which is the Demon Tweaks Yokohama low-cost race.
So we have, coming up next, round 14 of the Demon Tweaks Yokohama Low Cost Championship. We saw these cars out before the lunch break where they had a red flag and a restarted race which went for just 5 laps, and it was won by Louis Wall, his second win of the season, his second win at Oulton Park as well, having won here a couple of years ago. Tom Gadd took second place and Murray Shepherd took third position. So what difference did that make to the championship, I hear you ask? Well, with drop scores now taken into account, we have Tom Gadd on 234, Louis Wall on 222, Murray Shepherd moves up to third on 202, Martin West 201, and Mark Burton, who was a non-starter actually in that race, he is on 186 points. It's those 5 drivers that still mathematically can contend for the championship. With 3 races to go here at Oulton Park today. We've got 1 more and then 2 more at Snetterton to round out the season. going to have the cars released out onto the circuit shortly. Excellent work having been done by the marshals and the recovery crews and the circuit staff to deal with the incidents from the earlier race, the Tequila Club Enduro race. And we do now have the Demon Tweaks Yokohama low costs about to come out onto the track. This time round, it's going to be a grid based on the second fastest times in qualifying, so I'll run you through that now as the cars are about to be brought out of the assembly area and onto the circuit. So pole position, that will go the way of number 12, Tom Gadd, the championship leader, and alongside him will be number 44, Louis Wall, who was the race 1 winner. Right alongside him, on the second row of the grid, it should be the number 43 car of David Mason. He was actually disqualified from the early race because his car failed the post-race right hide checks, one of 3 cars to fail that. Alongside him is number 1, Mark Burton, who had issues in race 1 and didn't get beyond the first corner. Third row will be number 94, Martin West, and number 4, Andrew Tate, who had a career best 5th place finish earlier on. He starts 6th for this one. The fourth row will be number 2, which is Murray Shepherd, who's moved up into the top 3 in the championship with the result earlier on, and 69, Greg Smith. On the 5th row, 84, Carl Roysenars. He was on pole for the earlier race, but could finish only 6th. And next to him will be number 29, Jeff Peake. The 6th row, 15, Matt Groh, and 87, Craig Land. The 7th row, 8, Sean Brame, who was a non-finisher in the earlier race, indeed involved in the incident before the red flag, and 88, Jack Chapman. The 8th row will have 96, Jonathan Higgins, and 74, Gary Brandon, another driver involved in the incident, but he did get going again. The 9th row will be 79, David Johns, and 47, Tim Penstone Smith in Scrappy Jack. The 10th row, 82 and 38, 82, Paul Clark, and 38, Russ Atwood. Row 11 will be 28 and 72, 28, Dave Barry, another driver to fail the post-race right hide check earlier on, and 72, Alex Artis. The 12th row, 127, Danny Andrew, and number 19, Daniel Garrett. Row 13 will be 73, Rob Apsey, and 27, Mick Lax. That's a bit further up on the grid than we normally see him. 14th row, 41, Keith Malpas. Similar story for him, really. Also a bit further up on the grid than he often is. And 66, Paul Williamson. 15th row, 20, Bill Ward, and 33, Glenn Boyer. The 16th row will be 10, Abigail Harris, and 71, Jonathan Lester, but he blew his engine in qualifying. The 17th row, 60, Dean Hale, and 83, Jake Boydell. The 18th row, 99, Ryan Garrett, and 30, Joe McNally. And with the 10-second penalty on the back of the grid, will be the number 36 car being driven by Ian Thornton. That's the car normally driven by James Lewis Barnard. So that is the way that the grid will line up for what's going to be another 13-minute plus 1 lap race. And it was an absolute thriller that we saw earlier on.
Yeah, there was more passes for position than there were laps, wasn't there? There was generally
was.
The lap chart might not actually show all the passes of position for the lead. They might show there wasn't one, but there certainly was, as positions were gained and then changed again before the end of the lap, such as the length of the lap round here at Oulton Park. And we had 6, 7, 8 cars battling for the lead for the majority of the race. So hopefully we'll have a similar story here, and with our 2 main championship contenders now on the front row together. And they're pretty close in the championship, as Ian mentioned. Just 12 points really separate Gadd and Wall. So that's a real close battle with the 3 races remaining. One here that will take place the 2nd at Oulton Park, and then the 2 at Snetterton next month. And Snetterton season finales for low cost tend to be pretty crazy. So that's going to be an enjoyable weekend there, particularly if the weather is similar to here. So Tom Gadd, there he is then, lining up on pole position, car number 12. Will be going from the front. Tom Gadd, who hasn't won a race for a little while now. He hasn't won since Cadwell Park. But he also won at Anglesey and 3 times at Crofts, so he would like to put that right here. Of course, Louis Wall, the most recent winner, after winning earlier on today, but also won at Brands Hatch last time out. David Mason there on row 2. He hasn't won at all, so he will be looking to do that. His best result actually just a 1 podium, a 3rd position. So David Mason hoping for a strong race. Mark Burton, that car's back out. That's been fixed, a gear linkage issue earlier. Yet to win this year, the former champion. Then Martin West and Andrew Tate on the 3rd row. A really good qualification there from Andrew Tate, who we said earlier got his best result, didn't we, in the top 6, and he's there on the grid again. So perhaps Andrew Tate can do something pretty good on this grid, and then much further down this time, Murray Shepherd and Carl Roussillard starting 7th and 9th. They'll be looking to move through it.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting first lap or two of this race, isn't it? I was just pondering whether we could have the championship wrapped up here, but I don't think we can, though, with the way the drop scores work. Drivers can drop their 3 worst scores at the end of the season out of the 16 rounds in the championship. But because Tom Gadd's already had a couple of non-finishes this year, he's still not quite safe yet, even if he wins today, and I think everyone else DNFs. So I think it will go down to the wire at Snetterton in a few weeks' time, this one, Josh. But Tom Gadd will be looking for another solid result here with those 2 races left to go.
Green flag at the back, so we're about to go racing again.
We certainly are then, so the very quick minutes will be counted down. In fact, the red light's already on, and the lights go out. Now, away we go then, and it's a pretty good start by Louis Wall from the outside of the front row. A pretty slow start from Tom Gadd. He's got David Mason trying to get alongside him as they go down to the first corner. It looks like Mason might just about get through into second place, with Gadd down to third position. Now, do they all make it through? There's one of them very wide, 2 of them very wide. I've seen worse as they make their way out of Old Hall Corner. I think everyone has got back on this time, so that is good to see. It's Louis Wall leading, and Tom Gadd trying to get back into second place at Cascades.
He came flying up the inside, didn't he? He might have almost grabbed the lead, but what's his exit going to be like? You have to wonder, because he was coming a long way up on the tight line into Cascades there. They're making their way down toward Island Bend. He has got the lead, so a fantastic move there from Tom Gadd. Louis Wall trying to hang on around the outside. David Mason in third as they turn onto Shell Oil. Still on the inside is Wall, so he might get the lead back away from Tom Gadd there, but that was a really good effort by Gadd at Cascades, and he is still alongside. They've been side by side for most of the lap now. And into the Britain chicane. Who's going to give it up? It's Wall on the outside who has to, so it's Tom Gadd that leads. He's been in, first, second and third throughout half the lap, but he's back in where he started.
Well, it's a good first half a lap, but we'll keep an eye on what's been going on for those cars that were a little bit out of position, maybe at the start, as Wall comes back down to his laps on the outside line, though. So Gadd holds on. Looks like third is West, fourth is Mason, fifth is Tate, so he's got away pretty well. Sixth is Mark Burton, seventh is Murray Shepherd, which I think is where he started. And then everyone else coming through. So there's about 9, I think, in that leading group by the looks of it at the moment. And it does include Carl Roysenars, who was down in 9th on the grid, wasn't he?
And I think it's Greg Smith who's the other one there, but Louis Wall slots through into the lead, into Druid, so going ahead of Tom Gadd there, but runs a bit wide on the exit of the corner, so is Gadd going to be able to fight back? Of course, these are the 2 main championship contenders now for the 2019 championship as they break in towards Lodge. Mark Burton up the inside of Andrew Tate, and following him is Murray Shepherd, but did Shepherd get there successfully? Because it was pretty tight between the 2. Well, he's across the grass. Is that Shepherd? Yes, he would, so he's lost out. And for the lead, Tom Gadd back up the inside of Louis Wall. And will he get it? He will, into Old Hall, so back into the lead. Car number 12, Tom Gadd, but he runs out wide, so that's going to give the better run to Louis Wall. And you got Martin West and David Mason there too, as they make their way down the avenue through Dentons and into Cascades. It's Gadd ahead.
So 5 in the lead group, then Andrew Tate is in the next group. He's got Carl Roysenars just behind him, then Murray Shepherd just behind him after his grassy moment, and then the rest of them making their way through. But it's 5 in that first group then as they head down to the left-hander at Island Bend. We'll pick them up down there at that left-hander. They're sweeping their way through. David Mason's also in there, and Mark Burton, so he's having a much better race than he was earlier on, in that he's got beyond the first corner. And so they turn their way through Shell Oil's corner once more. Out of it they now come, through the sort of right-handed sweep before they get to the left-right-left chicane at Britain's, the chicane, and it's West that carries more speed than Gadd into the chicane that time. He sort of narrowed the gap a little bit there, but no change in the order. And I think having the concept of a 5 and then the rest of them has gone away now, because it's getting much, much closer again, Josh.
Absolutely. It looks like Roussillard has gone 6th, but he's bringing the rest with him. But in front of him, he sees Mark Burton dive up the inside and go through ahead of David Mason. So Burton up to 4th. But yes, Roussillard into 6th. He was, 8th at this part of the track last lap, and he's bringing Murray Shepherd with him towards the leaders, and the 2 leaders are going to go side by side, much like they did on the last lap. Last lap, it was Wall that went past Gadd, but this time it might be the other way around. Tom Gadd on the inside and slots through ahead of Louis Wall. And just keeping a watching brief there is Martin West, who hasn't won since the first round at Donington.
Out of Druids along the Warwick, under the Warwick Bridge, up to Lodge Corner, and it's on the outside line. Wall that's got ahead already of Tom Gadd there, so he takes the lead of the race. West still there in third position, the Somerset-based driver. Up towards the line they come then, so it's Wall from Cirencester that leads for the Lincolnshire driver, Tom Gadd. Now Martin West having a good run on both of them as they come up into Old Hall Corner this time. It's those three out in front. And then Mark Burton in fourth place, David Mason in fifth, Carl Roysenars sixth. Best lap of the race so far has got we've had a spinner.
Tim Pentstone-Smith is off.
Yeah, Carl Roysenars the best lap of the race, 2:06.80.
Yeah, Pentstone-Smith had a couple of cars coming up the inside of him. Sean Brame and Craig Lann had just run out wide. I don't think it was a spin, in fact, but a big wide moment. But he got away with it. Better than we did on our first race, and perhaps the grass had a bit of dampness left. But leaders, this is pretty tasty into Island Bend. Mark Burton up the inside of Martin West. Can he get there? The two leaders are almost overlapping, but Wall stays ahead of Gadd. In fact, they all stay in the same order, despite all that side-by-side action. We got 7, 8, 9, I think, for the lead. So you got Wall, Gadd, West, Burton, Mason, Roussenard, Shepherd, Tate, and Jeff Peake, I think, has brought himself into this battle for the lead. So rather than losing cars from the lead group here, we're gaining them.
We are getting more and more of them. I was thinking here, Mark Burton, I wouldn't rule him out of a win. He's not yet had one this season, of course, the reigning champion. Green flag's their way, which means there's a yellow flag there because is that Roysenars? No, it's not. It's one a bit further back that's off, isn't it? I beg your pardon. But is about to rejoin the circuit. I mean, there's a bit of a moment down there at Britain's, but the leaders heading all ready through his laps. There's Tim Pentstone-Smith after this moment a few moments ago, just ahead of Sean Brame. Leaders heading up towards Druids then for the third time in this race. Here they are into the dappled shade, and it is Wall leading from Gadd in second. There's Roysenars. He's got ahead of David Mason now as well, hasn't he? So he's up into fifth place, I think, and Murray Shepherd trying to go with him as well. Yes, it's Wall that's leading, who is good at this part of the circuit, but West it is that's looking to the outside of Tom Gadd this time, but Gadd holds on the inside line.
Old Hall is where it tends to have quite a bit of action, so we shall see what happens up there this time. It's 4 for the lead with a small break, but the others might catch again. Tom Gadd comes to the inside of Louis Wall and should grab the lead, I reckon, into Old Hall. West and Burton decide against any real move and try and get a good exit because Gadd runs out wide, up over the curbs. So that's going to bring the two behind. I think West might have got Wall as well, and he might get the lead into... no, actually, it is 44 Wall that hangs on in the end. Gadd is second. There's no change after all of that.
Yeah, no, it's deceptive, isn't it? You think a lot's going on, and it might do now because Tom Gadd trying to get up alongside Louis Wall here as they go down to the left-hand sweeper at Island Bend. There they are now, absolutely side by side for the lead of the race. It's Gadd on the inside for the left-hander. Can he get ahead as they turn into the right-handed hairpin at Shallows Corner? Yes, he can, I think. So Gadd does take the lead that time in the number 12 car, away from number 44, Louis Wall. It looks like it is Martin West, number 94, in third place. Number 1, Mark Burton, fourth. Murray Shepherd is up to fifth place now in the number 2 car, so he's got ahead of Carl Roysenars already on this lap.
And starting to come back towards the leaders. They are. We had that 4-car breakaway, but that's didn't last long, about half a lap at that. Across Hilltop they come then. It's really been the top 2 switching around while West and Burton just sit behind them at the moment. Into the Hislop chicane they go. No real challenges at the front of the order on this lap. They turn right now through Knickerbrook, and then they will climb the hill towards Clay Hill, climb up Clay Hill, and it's Druids where we see changes usually because the slipstream really works well up the hill there. A long run up towards Druids it is, and Louis Wall goes back through ahead of Tom Gadd using that slipstream very well. Through Druids they come. Lodge Corner is another place taken past, and Tom Gadd is thinking about it. He looked to the inside, but he backs out of that. What about Lodge Corner? No, Wall is hanging on here. He's late on the brakes on the inside line. How's he going to get through? Is he going to run out wide at all? No, it's the third place car, Martin West, that does that, but we might see another challenge up towards the first corner in.
I'm sure we will. Tom Gadd getting alongside Martin, alongside Louis Wall, I should say, into the first corner at Old Hall, and he goes back through into the lead of the race. So they're just changing places time and time again each lap, aren't they, here? Third place is still West, fourth place is Burton, we've got the top 7 covered by less than 2 seconds, the top 10 covered by only about 4.5 seconds, and another change as well in that Burton's got through to 3rd place now, ahead of Martin West.
Yeah, so as Mark Burton starting to make his moves now up into 3rd position. A good move that we've got side by side for the lead between Louis Wall and Tom Gadd into Island Bend. And Mark Burton up the inside of both of them, and he gets, it's Gadd that's dropped back. So Tom Gadd has dropped to 3rd. Louis Wall lead, but Mark Burton is certainly making his moves now. He started the lap in 4th, but he's now 2nd as they turn their way through the Shell Old Hairport. It's a 13-minute plus 1 lap race for the low-cost championship. So we've still got a few laps of it to go, and it's 44. Louis Wall that leads into the Britain chicane.
He does indeed, with just about 3.5 minutes plus a lap left to go in this race. Over the hilltop they come, down towards Hislops. Burton it is, up into 2nd place now then, behind Louis Wall. Number 44, Louis Wall, winner here in 2017, a winner here this morning as well. Mark Burton, he has not won here before, I think probably just having his 2nd race here. There's the 29 car of Jeff Peake, running in 9th place. Andrew Tate just ahead of him in the grey-coloured car, but the challenge going on further up the field.
Tom Gadd's got himself back alongside Mark Burton, but can't get through, I don't think. Burton hangs on to 2nd place. So I guess he's really having his first race here at Oulton, isn't he, Mark Burton? It's the first one he didn't get into, really, with the car braking off the line. He's going to challenge for the lead up the inside of Louis Wall, and he gets there. So Mark Burton, who started the lap in 4th place, is going to lead, I reckon, at the end of it, but he's sideways out over the curbs, so he might not lead at the end of it. Almost put Louis Wall on the grass there, so the two of them are side by side. I think Wall is actually going to lead across the line in the end, only just from Mark Burton. It's almost 4 across the circuit, as up the inside comes Tom Gadd to get back ahead of Mark Burton. Martin West runs out of road, he's sideways across the grass, he catches it. Tom Gadd is now challenging for the lead. It's absolutely crazy stuff out there.
As they came across the line, they were dead heating. If that had been the checkered flag, it would have been a dead heat, but there's still probably another couple of laps or so to go, maybe even 3, depending on the timings. They've got a back marker ahead of them that they need to try and lap, and that's something that's going to be a little bit awkward, I reckon. They all try and squeeze past that slower car, so it's Wall and Gadd and then Burton, who was leading towards the end of that 5th lap of the race, having been 4th at the start of it. And this is exactly the kind of thing that can happen in low cost, such as the slipstream, even at a circuit that's not necessarily renowned for it, such as Oulton Park. These 1300cc Ford cross-flow engined, not particularly aerodynamic or powerful cars, they do make for some really great racing. There can be a big slipstream even somewhere like this, and that does help to get drivers going from 4th to 1st, back to 3rd again within not much time at all. There's a moment for someone coming out of Druids. That is the number 30 car that has had a moment. That's Jay McNally, and he's just stranded on the curb there at Druids Corner. Possibly the car not firing up.
What I was going to say is this this weekend of racing at Oulton Park for local, I think, had the biggest group of cars battling for the lead we've seen for a while as well. So sort of putting anything against the Oulton Park motto of not being difficult to overtake. It's been absolutely fantastic, the locals championship races. We're really hoping that Jay McNally can get out of that position.
Yeah, well, the leaders have just gone flashing past him, haven't they, I think, and down back towards us. Oh, he has got going now, just after the leaders have gone through, so that's spurred him into action. So leaders down towards Watch Corner. It's Wall, Gadd, Burton, and now Shepherd up to 4th place.
Yeah, so it's Martin West who's dropped back after that big slide we saw from him.
Last lap board's going out.
At Old Hall, so that's sort of gone a bit early, hasn't it? But everyone's going to see that and be able to race it into Old Hall. Murray Shepherd comes diving up the inside of Mark Burton and gets there, and Tom Gadd got past Louis Wall for the lead. Cole Roussenard is now also coming alongside Burton. Where do you want to lead this race? It's sort of hard to tell, isn't it, here at Oulton Park? But it's car number 12, it's Tom Gadd, ahead of his main championship contender, Louis Wall, as they make their way onto Lakeside for this final time, lap 7.
Yeah, and Colin Roussenard's there trying to get 3rd place away from Murray Shepherd as well as they head down towards Island Bend. It's Gadd from Wall, but who's going to be 3rd? It's now Shepherd there that's in there, but actually Roysnars has dropped back again, I think, back to 5th place. Burton through on the inside, though, back up into a podium position. So it's Gadd from Wall from Burton.
OK, so it's back to how it was earlier. Martin West trying to get alongside Cole Roussillard there. Can't do it, though, into the Britain chicane. Druids and Lodge have been the two better overtaking opportunities, I'd suggest, so there's still plenty to play for. Maybe into the Hislop chicane we'll see a challenge. We haven't seen so much of it in the low costs during this race, and Louis Wall doesn't really put on a real attack. Tom Gadd hops over the inside curb in there. Big slide from Louis Wall, trying to get the power on as early as possible because it's an important run up Clay Hill. Mark Burton is right there again, so it's free for the lead. They've got away from Murray Shepherd. Maybe he made a bit of a mistake there. Are we going to see the change into Druids like we've seen on previous laps? Louis Wall trying to get alongside Tom Gadd, and Mark Burton's coming up the inside of both of them. Gadd holds on, it's Burton into second. 1 corner to go, Ian.
Right, can Mark Burton get his first win of the season then? The reigning champion has yet to have one this year. Up towards Lodge Corner for the final time. He comes out of the slipstream. Gadd was defending to the right, now he's defending to the left, but he's going to go all the way around the outside. Mark Burton's halfway in the lead of the race. They're side by side. He's got a big slide on. He goes across the track, he controls it, but Gadd's going to come through, I think, to take the win. Over the grass is Louis Wall as they come up to the line, and the timing screen tells me that it's Tom Gadd that wins it. Mark Burton second, Louis Wall third, Murray Shepherd fourth. Those 3 cars separated by 4/100ths of a second. The top 5 within half a second of one another. Carl Royce-Nars was 5th, Martin West 6th, then David Mason, Jeff Peake, Andrew Tate and Greg Smith.
We had 6 cars separated by 2/3 of a second. Looks more like a qualifying timesheet, doesn't it? 1.8 seconds separated 8 cars. That's what we were saying about the big packs here around Oulton Park. Absolutely fantastic. And there were great battles throughout the field, but we couldn't really watch them. So Gadd, Burton, Wall, Shepherd, Roussillard, West, Mason, Peake in that leading queue. Then we had Andrew Tate and Greg Smith, Matt Grow, Craig Land, Tim Petstone Smith just beating Sean Brame. Danny Andrew didn't have a great return, did he? But he had a good battle there with Gary Brandon and Jonathan Higgins. And as I say, these battles we weren't really able to watch because the battle for the win was so intense. But as always in locals, great battle all the way through the field. And that was probably one of the races of the season, wasn't it? At circuit, but maybe we said not great for overtaking in low cost. It was really as good as anywhere else.
It was. Just to give a name, Jack Chapman, Dave Berry, Rob Apsey completing the top 20. But yeah, Eddie, one of, well, several drivers had Mark Burton come across and taken a couple of them out on the exit of Lodge Corner. Could have won that race, Josh. But as it's turned out, the championship leader's done it again, and that for him then is his 6th victory of the season, which in a category like low cost is really quite something.
And he's had a few races where he hasn't won as well, hasn't he? Because that was back at the first race at Cadwell.
Who got the fastest lap as well? Let's just try and work that out. I think that was Burton, wasn't it, by the looks of it, that's got the fastest lap.
But as you say, Burton did really well to save that big slide, because that could have been a number of cars in real trouble, couldn't it? It was a huge slide that Burton had, trying to go round the outside of Tom Gadd, and then Louis Wall trying to squeeze up the inside. I guess we might yet see a change for that second, mightn't we? Because that's a dead heat on the screens. That will go to the officials to give a final verdict on that. So we get a definite second position.
Yeah, if it stays like that on drop scores, it will be Gadd on 259, Wall on 242, and by my reckoning then. It will just be Gadd and Wall and actually Murray Shepherd that are still just about in mathematical contention for the championship. But Tom Gadd is now a lot of the way there. 2 decent finishes at Snetterton should take him all the way to the championship.
But as I was saying earlier, Ian, Snetterton low-cost races are crazy at the best of times. So I think planning anything there, it goes out the window. You just have to race as hard as you can and hope that you keep out of any trouble. Unless we get October Snetterton rain, which wouldn't be out of the question, then it sort of adds a totally different element. But it's been a great season from Tom Gadd, who I don't think he'd won a race before this year, had he?
No, he hadn't, and he didn't actually win one at the first meeting, although he came very close. He really showed some pace, straight out of the box at Donington Park at the beginning of the year, but I think got taken out, didn't he, one of the races there when he was possibly in a good position?
I think most people did.
At some point, yes. So our marshals there, many thanks to them for their hard work. About 200 even of them here, I understand, this weekend, which is excellent when you consider so much motorsport going on at this weekend. British GTs at Donington, British touring cars at Knockhill. You've got the Goodwood Revival going on as well. But fantastic numbers of marshals here at Oulton Park as ever. So we're always very grateful to them. Still 3 races to go here at Oulton Park this afternoon. We've got the the BMWs, we've got the sports specials and the bike sports, but the cars still queuing up to get into Parc Fermé at the end of that Demons Week's Yokohama low-cost race. I say the championship finale for the low-cost is at Snetterton 4 weeks from now, so that's certainly something to look forward to. A couple of good results for Andrew Tate there, sort of adding 9th to his 6th early one, so I imagine he'll be pretty pleased with his strongest weekend yet in the Demons Week's Yokohama Low-Cost Championship.
Running that lead group as well, which really builds the confidence, doesn't it?
And it was also good to see people like Sean Brown get back out and get a reasonable result there in 14th position, having been a non-finisher earlier on. It's always a bit of a shame when someone has a sort of double DNF or can't even get back out for the second race.
Yes, because he was involved in that first corner red flag incident in that earlier one. So good to see Sean Brame, who's been in this championship for such a long time now, back out there and racing with Tim Penstone-Smith, somebody else who's been around the series now for all the decade, I think.
Yeah, indeed so. So we should, in a few moments, hear from our top three. So it's a slightly different top three to anyone. Two of them are the same, Louis Wall and Tom Gadd, but we'll hear from Mark Burton as well this time, our reigning champion. They'll be all collected and brought into the clutches of Jacob Harris, who's down there doing sterling work at the other end of the pit lane from where we are on this beautiful afternoon at Oulton Park.
I guess it might be difficult for the officials to judge the dead heat because Louis Wall was on the grass, wasn't he? Or
he was.
A good way across there as he tried to squeeze up the inside of Mark Burton, who was slow off of Lodge Corner from that big slide.
Yeah, so I'm sure the officials will do their best to try and separate them, but I can see, I think, drivers, or at least I think they're drivers, now heading in the general direction of our man, Jacob Harris. So we'll go down to Jacob once again in the pit lane to speak to our top three drivers from the Demons Week's Yokohama Low-Cost Championship.
Right. Is it Louis? Either way, Louis.
Live. We are here down at the podium with Louis Wall. Louis, you lost it a bit there at the end.
Yeah, it was a tough last lap. I was trying to tee Tom up for the long straight going into Deers Leap and sort of try and get the run on him there, but then Mr. Burton had a very good drag coming out of the last chicane, so he got into the mix, and it was a fun but quite a stressful lap for me.
Yeah, pretty much a photo finish at the end. Do you think you had it?
I thought I might have just sneaked second back, but I think it was pretty close.
So a first and a third place for you today, then you happy with that?
Oh, very happy. It's been a good day at the office today. I mean, the car's been brilliant. The engine is so strong. Grace Power do the engine, and they're brilliant. Really good.
And you've got watching with you. There's a number of family members loitering around there. Any of them yours?
Yes. Yeah, my girlfriend Ella's here, and then Dave, who looks after the car, Rob, the mechanic. So there's a bit of a team.
Brilliant. Well, I'll let you get back to them, and congratulations on your results today. Next up, we have the man who stole second place, Mark Burton. Mark, how did you manage that?
It's a year's experience in low-cost racing, I think. That is, I haven't won a race this year. I've had a bit of bad luck, but I've had the pace, when it's worked, and I felt like going for it today. I got on the back of them on the last lap, and I thought I could do this, so I tried it, but it didn't quite work out. I think it probably looked good on TV on the last corner, Tom and I sideways together, but that's not how you win a race, unfortunately.
Yeah, it'll certainly be one to watch back at the end, won't it? Are you overall happy with your day?
Frustrating day. I had a gearbox failure off the start line in race one, and I knew I had strong pace, which I showed in that race, so that was frustrating, but that race made amends for it. It was a good result and a really good race as well, so yeah, can't be too disappointed.
Can you finally get that elusive win next time out?
Hopefully, yeah. I'll be disappointed if I go the whole year without a win. After last year, I think I got 9 out of the 16, so to get 1 would be nice, so I can just try.
Well, good luck with that. Thank you very much for talking to us. Last but not least, our race winner, Tom Gadd. Tom, congratulations on another fantastic result. I believe it was a second early, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, it was second early, and you did say, do you think you could go on better? And I said I'd settle for second, but I think that was too good of a race not to, really.
Yeah, an excellent competition. Obviously, you're the championship leader as well now, and you may well have put yourself in a prime position to take the championship. What do you know that Ron Champion's book doesn't?
Nothing really. We've changed nothing really over the past 2 years on the car. It's just been sort of learning how to drive them and then just sort of developing it from there, really. It's more, I think, in these cars, it is more about circuit knowledge and driving ability than it is maybe a straight line or engine power and
there's people pumping a lot of money into buying engines. I think a lot of it is down to the driver. So I think there's not a lot that the book knows that I don't. He surely knows a lot more than I do, but yeah, it just seems to all come together this year.
Brilliant, it's good to hear. Thanks for talking to us, Tom, and all the best for the rest of the championship. Right, the BMW CCRs are heading out behind me, so let's head back to the comms box.
So we've got the cars out onto the circuit now for the second race of the day for the BMW Car Club Racing Championship. It's round 10 of their 14-race season. Still more events to go at Snetterton and the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit to round out the year. Earlier on today, it was a victory for Mike Cutt from Rick Kerry and Michael Pensaval. For race 2, it's a partially reversed grid, and it's the top 4 that have been reversed on this occasion. So the grid will line up as follows. On pole position, it will be the 140 car of Jazz Sapra, and alongside Jazz will be the 146 of Michael Pensaval. Second row will be number 2, Rick Kerry, and number 44, Michael Cutt in his M3. Row 3, the first of the M2 class cars, that's Paul Cook, and number 4, Gary Hufford. Fourth row will be 15, Graham Crowhurst, and number 91, Hugh Gurney, who was finished 8th in race 1. Fifth place, number 2, number 27, fifth row, number 27, Richard Bromley, and 67, the M2 class leader, Adrian Williams. Row 6, 69, Jason Hollyhead, and 83, Gary Burstow. The 7th row will be 22, Joe Geach, and 25, the Class 6 winner from early 1, 6-cylinder class winner, Darren Ball. Row 8, 76 and 41. 76 is Stuart Pywell, and 41, Sonny Gill. The 9th row, 59 and 7. 59, Jim Benson, and 7, Kevin Denwood. The 10th row will be 8 and 46, Bill Redrop and Matt Page. The 11th row, 51, Chris Graham, and 10, Clive Watson. The 12th row, 45 and 55, Dominic Early and Raheem Ballou. 13th row, 60, Carl McMillan, and 40, Sean Jackson. Row 14, 66, Mark Colmer, and 3, Kaz Singh. Row 15, 54, Rob Allman, and 75, Craig Emerson. Row 16, treble 3, Richard Harrison, and 31, Paul Laramie. Row 17 will be 6, Neil Bray, and 11, David Kempton, and 222, Simon Thorpe, starting at the back of the grid. So there were a few non-finishers in the earlier race, those being Kaz Singh, Richard Harrison, Paul Laramie, Neil Bray, and David Kempton. We'll also see how many of those cars are back out for race number 2. But in race 1, Josh, it was Mike Cutt that got a good start, got a good lead of a second or so, and sort of maintained that all the way through the race.
Yeah, now we've got this reverse grid situation where he starts 4th. The start, therefore, being very important, and to try and get ahead of those cars. Otherwise, I think we can have a real race on our hands, which hopefully we will do. One to watch, I think, off the start will be Paul Cook. He was so quick in that first half a lap earlier on in the M2 car to see if he can get amongst those around him. And of course, you've got the 2 invitational cars on the front row, which sort of mixes it up even further, doesn't it? So really interesting BMW Car Club Racing race coming up, I suspect. You've got David Kempton, hopefully there, fighting his way through from the back of the grid. You've got the Class 6 guys, watch out for them. They had a great race earlier, Darren Bull, Stuart Pywell and Jim Benson.
Is that the Kempton car that we could just see at the back there? I think it might have been. We could certainly see Neil Bray's car, number 6. Which was making its debut in the BMW Car Club Racing Championship this time.
Of course, the other driver to look out for to see if he can continue to score maximum points is Matt Page, isn't it, who won the Cup class in that earlier race, and has won every race, actually, apart from the first one. He's looking for the overall title.
He is indeed, but still got a couple of meetings to go after this, as I say, so nothing is secure just yet. So it's going to be an 18-minute plus 1 lap race this time, so a slightly longer race, Josh. So they'll need to think about the wear on the tyres. Green flag waved at the back. 5-second board is shown. Red lights go on. Lights go out, and away we go then. And it's a pretty good start from the pole position car. That's Jazz Sapra. A good start too by number 4, Gary Hufford from the 3rd row of the grid. He's already into 3rd position. Rick Kerry trying to go up on the inside as well. Paul Cook in the M2 class car was not away that well. He's lost a couple of positions, but it looks like it's Jazz Sapra, I think, that's leading the way down to Cascades for the first time, with Michael Pensaval in 2nd, Rick Kerry 3rd, then Mike Cutt 4th.
Graham Crowhurst and Paul Cook are side by side. That's for the M2 lead, and Paul Cook round the outside hangs on. There was a couple off at Old Hall, but they got back on safely. So down towards Island Bend we go then, and it is the top 2 as they started. Sapra and Pensaval, the 2 invitational cars, getting away, but for the M1 lead around the outside comes Mike Cutt of Rick Kerry. Can he get there? He's got a long way around on the banked corner. You've got Gary Hufford there too. Oh, there had been a big accident there between Darren Ball and Kevin Denwood. So a couple of the six-cylinder car. I don't know if it looks more dramatic because the boots come up. But immediately the safety car boards are out.
Yeah, and that's at Cascades, isn't it? In the gravel trap at Cascades. So I imagine that they'll haul them out of there.
Some pointed fingers from Darren Ball there. Of course, the championship leader within Class 6 coming into this weekend from Gareth Montgomery and Stuart Pywell. So the safety car there, the 750 Motor Club Renault Megane, is prepared on the start and finish line. Well, the cars, of course, racing to the yellow flag. Well, I don't think they would have raced much further, but that side-by-side battle for the M1 lead between Rick Carey and Mike Cutt was rather good.
It was indeed, but all being neutralised now, as the drivers are still having a discussion, aren't they, down there? You are on camera, guys, about what happened there. Kevin Denwood and Darren Bull, pointed fingers. I think the marshal's given up trying to separate them. Now pat on the shoulder, so maybe they're all made up, which would be good to see. Calm down. There we go. Right, so those cars will be recovered from the gravel trap. The cars that are in the race are heading back towards us. They're being very orderly, aren't they? In that Jas Sapra effectively decided to control the pace as they come around under the safety car, and they will be picked up by the Renault Megane that's on the start line. It's just moving away from its position now. So we'll give you a rundown on what the order actually is at the end of lap 1 as they come through. So it is the 140 car from pole position, Jas Sapra leading from 146. Michael Pensaval in second place. As Josh said, both of those are the invitation class cars. So the first class M1 car is number 2, Rick Carey, from number 44, Mike Cutt. Then Gary Hufford is third in number 4. The first M2 class car is Paul Cook in number 26, from number 15, Graham Crowhurst. And then it's 69, Jason Hollyhead. Adrian Williams is 9th, and Richard Bromley rounding out the top 10. The first of the 6-cylinder class cars that's come through is Bill Redrop, actually, in number 8. He's in 14th position, so he's ahead of Jim Benson, but we've lost 2 of the 6-cylinder class contenders. And Matt Page in 16th place overall, leading the Cup class at the moment. In 16th, as I say, from Carl McMillan, who's 19th.
There's another car off there at Cascades, I reckon, isn't there, on the right-hand side of the circuit before the other two. So we'll try and figure out who that could have been, because we haven't had Stuart Pywell through, the other 6-cylinder front runner.
Yeah, so cars that didn't come through at the end of the lap were Ball and Denwood and Stuart Pywell. Also Paul Laramie as well, I think, has not reappeared. But if it was a grey-coloured car, then that would be Pywell, wouldn't it?
And it'd been the three of the 4 fast 6-cylinder guys getting involved, and Jim Benson, the only real one that survived it, but he did fall behind Bill Redrop.
Well, possibly that counts for Bill Redrop managing to sort of squeeze through whatever chaos was going on, because where did he start on the grid? He started just one row behind Jim Benson, didn't he?
So that's interesting. The 3 M1 guys together, Kerry, Cutt and Hufford, they're all battling for that class championship, aren't they? On adjusted scores coming here, actually on full scores as well coming here, just the 5 points between Cutt, Hufford and Kerry. Cutt would, of course, extended that lead in the earlier race, but not much really between them. So that's a real class championship battle as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's looking like there's a battle going on for each of the classes. Really, it's got its own battle going on, hasn't it? For the championship, there's no one really getting away with individual classes, but certainly it's that both of the guys in the Cup class, Page and Watson, particularly Page, are getting away a little bit from the remaining classes.
The point system really rewards finishes, doesn't it?
It does.
You can consistently be up there, like Clive Watson there, talking about the Cup class, even though he's only won the 1 compared to Matt Page's 7. He was only 6 points behind coming into the meeting. Of course, Page has made that 8 in the earlier race, but been, I think, second every time out for Clive Watson.
Effectively, you get 3 points for turning up, and then 10 for win, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, etc. And so it's 13 for win, 12 for second, 11 for third. So there's not much differentiation in the points. So if you do get consistent runs together, that's good. But finishing is important, I guess, is the message there.
Yeah, because that's sort of how the M1 guys have fallen down in the overall order. There's Pywell's car being put over the barriers, so we did identify that one correctly. Just wondering how much damage might be might have been sustained. It's a real shame for him, because that's the first time in that earlier race we really saw him battling for the class win, wasn't it? It's a real pick-up of pace from Stuart Pywell here. He was as well the third in the championship in Class 6 heading here to Oulton Park, but that's all got a bit wrong in this race, unfortunately for him.
It has, it really has. He's someone who's been there or thereabouts the last couple of seasons, a relative newcomer to the category. It was a new car for last year, so it had only done 12 races before this year. 42-year-old from Wakefield. So Jazz Saffer comes through at the end of lap 2, of course still leading this race from Michael Pensaval in second. Then you've got Rick Kerry in third place in car number 2, the 47-year-old from Ipswich, the managing director of Ipswich Accident Repair Centre. He was a banger driver in the late 90s, then he did Group 1 touring cars in an XR3, did the Combo BMW Championship as well. First diesel car in the British Touring Car Championship he also drove. Got one in the pits as well. Can we identify who that is? Just trying to work that out. But there's only one car that has made a pit stop. Meanwhile, you can see the recovery crew still working hard down there at Cascades to get rid of the cars. We've had 7 minutes of the race so far. It's the 91 there, I think, isn't it?
That's Hugh Gurney.
Yep. Who finished 7th in race 1, so it'd be disappointing for him.
Wonder if he
potentially out of the race.
He got caught up in something down there, perhaps dropped some positions.
Right, Darren Ball's got out of the gravel on his own accord, by the looks of it, so that saved the recovery crews a bit of work. Possibly just needed a bit of a tug out of the gravel.
Hopefully that means the car's not really very damaged either.
It is, I would think so. Gurney's going to go back into the race by the looks of it. So maybe we'll see the safety car go in this time. We've had just about 8 minutes of the race so far, but only really about half of a racing lap before the safety car boards went out.
Yeah, because we were looking to the longer race, weren't we? Thinking about lap traffic and managing the cars, the tyres over the distance. That sort of goes out the window now.
It does. Well, it'll be more or less sort of, well, it'd be even slightly shorter race, won't it, than the earlier, in terms of actual race time that they get.
Of course, this is hampering David Kempton's run through the field, because he had come from the back into the top 20.
Yeah, 18th at the end of lap 1.
But, of course, now he's had a couple of laps where he's not been able to move forwards, but he will sort of look to do that and see how far he can get.
Yeah, David Kempton, who had the retirement earlier on, of course, and he's had a new diff made for this weekend. He also has preparation for this weekend. He's been doing some virtual reality racing of Oulton Park, as he hasn't raced here for 8 years, he says. He reckons the car's now well set up and all being well should be running up the front. Well, if it hadn't been for that incident in race 1, or the problem in race 1, it would be. His car, he says, has 374 brake horsepower. It weighs just over 1,300 kilos with the driver and the fuel, and it has to be at least 1,294 kilograms, he says, to stay within the regulations for the power-to-weight ratio. So there we go. That's David Kempton, sponsored by Red Box Global, A. Woods and Oulton Escalators and Lifts, who also helping with the live stream here at Oulton Park today. So safety car lights still on for the moment, but I think in previous races we've not really seen them turned off until they get under the Warwick Bridge, more or less. So we'll keep an eye as to whether they do go out this time. Still on at the moment.
You'd have thought that that's the plan, wouldn't you? We looked like Cascade had been cleared, but maybe not, which is a shame for the championship to have another lap under the safety car.
Right, no, Kevin Denwood's car wasn't clear. That was still in the gravel trap, and that's now being pulled away, so it's going to be one more lap, isn't it, I would think. So we'll have had 10 minutes so far, and laps under the safety car are taking about 3 3/4 minutes. They might be able to do this one a little bit quicker once they know that that vehicle is clear. So what will be up to? We'll be about 13 and a half, 14 minutes. So we'll probably get 3 laps, I would think.
So it certainly is going to be less than the earlier race.
Yeah.
Which means those a bit further down than they would like to be have got to get a bit of a move on, haven't they, to move forward. It'll be interesting to see who the likes of Rick Kerry, Mike Cutt and Gary Hufford, where they're interested about challenging those invitational cars, or they're just worried about battling for that M1 victory where the points are.
Yeah, because the points in M1 are quite close, aren't they? Or they're working into this weekend. Mike Cut 77, Gary Hufford 76, Rick Carey 72. If I look to see how they'd changed earlier on for those three. Well, I can't tell you how for those three because I've only got two of them on my spreadsheet. But Hofford in the early race was a non-finisher, wasn't he? So
No, it should have been fifth in class, or
no, it wasn't shown in the results. So
so they've been because of the non-transponder.
Possibly the transponder issue is meaning that it's not been timed.
Well, because the weird thing is the grid for this is set by the result of the earlier race, and he started on the third row of the grid.
Yes. So unless that result has been changed, it's the one that we've seen, which is possible, of course.
That's added further confusion to it.
I'll do some research. So safety car continues its way around.
Hopefully
Yeah, Gary Hufford was put, by the looks of it, back into the results in 6th place. Yeah, so that makes a little bit of sense in terms of how the grid was formed up.
Hopefully his transponder's been sorted, otherwise he may well not get classified for this one, but looks like
it has.
So that's good.
So 12 minutes now gone. Safety car is heading to Britain's chicane.
Good job that this isn't the shorter race, isn't it?
It certainly is, because otherwise there would have been very little left of it. So we talked a little bit about Rick Carey. Mike Cut, 44, is a 47-year-old engineer from York. He was the Northern Sports and Saloon Car Champion in 2011 and 2014. Also had race wins in the Comoe BMW Championship. Sponsored by JC Racing, TG Cut and Sun Fire Extinguisher Services as well. Gary Hufford, we've mentioned him a moment ago. He's a builder from Stevenage, 52 years of age. He raced in MX-5 for 4 years, raced in the M3 Cup for the last couple of years as well, or the 2 previous years, and had 4 wins in the BMW Car Club Racing Series as it was last year. And then Paul Cook, number 26, 49 years old, from Stonesfield, a director of Top Gun Refinishing. 12 years of Cub karting. He's been in car racing from 2015, initially with MR2s, then M3 Cup from 2017 as well. 4 MR2 wins and 6 M3 Cup wins last year, so he was the most winning driver in the 750 Motor Club last year. So, at the point, hopefully, where we'll find out if the safety car is going to come in this time with just under 14 minutes on the clock. They're heading under the bridge at Clay Hill now, the pedestrian bridge there, and fingers crossed, about to... Yeah, safety car lights go out as it turns into Druids Corner, which is good news, Josh.
Absolutely, because it's only going to be, 3 or 4 laps, I think, that we get in the end, which should be an interesting battle, though, because we saw Mike Cut have a good challenge on Rick Carey before the restart. It looks like they're not really worried about those invitational cars, are they? They're letting them go and having their own race.
Well, yeah, Jazz Sapper's quite close to the back of the safety car, which is unusual, as the safety car about to pull into the pit lane. So green flag's been prepared by the marshals on the start line. The race gets back underway, so it's Jazz Sapper then leading. Second is Michael Pensavalli. Has a look down the inside as they go into Oulton Corner for the first time on the restart. Rick Carey third, Mike Cut fourth, Gary Hufford fifth, Paul Cook, Graham Crowhurst 6th and 7th, and it's Jason Holyhead in 8th place. The race well and truly back underway.
Got the 2 6-cylinder cars there just behind Joe Geach, Will Reddrop and Jim Benson. But yeah, Rick Carey didn't look like he was worried about those 2 invitational entries, was he? He was just worried about this M1 battle that he has with Mike Cut. So he let those 2 cars go so they can have their own race. And they make their way in towards Island Bend. Cut in the M3, the E36 model, right behind the 1 Series of Kerry, who defending hard there into Shell Oils. And that means there's nowhere through for Mike Cut. You've got the M2 leaders right behind Gary Hufford. So that is Paul Cook ahead of Graham Crowhurst as they make their way off down towards the British chicane. You can't really miss Paul Cook's car, can you?
No, it's that day glow livery there. Very striking indeed. Leaders down towards Hislops for the 5th time, and it's Pensaval on the inside, and he's got the lead away from Jas Sapra now, so Pensaval takes the lead of the race here at Oulton Park. Oh, but he loses it. Big moment there. Jas Sapra's going to try and come back at him. They almost touch. They may just about have made contact. Pensaval was sideways, but he's got it pointing in a straight line once again. He leads. Jas Sapra 2nd, Rick Kerry 3rd. 4th is the race 1 winner. That's Mike Cutt.
Okay, that's pretty entertaining stuff down there at the chicane. Perhaps that's why Rick Kerry didn't want to get involved with the invitational battle. That was pretty interesting stuff, sideways and a bit of contact down there too. Gary Hufford can't live with the pace of Kerry and Cutt, and he's just ahead of the M2 cars that are behind. Again, Sapra trying to fight back on Pensaval there, up the inside into Lodge. Couldn't do it. He gets a twitch on the exit. Trying to get the power down on the exit of the corner, and the 2 M1 cars of Kerry and Cutt are there behind. But don't think there's a challenge there from Mike Cutt, so they turn their way through Old Hall. He's always strong down towards the Shellows hairpin, so that's potentially going to be the place to look out for. Down into Cascades they turn at the moment. The 2 leaders are still together. Sapra not letting Pensaval get away.
Just looking, David Kempton is up to 13th place, you can see out of our window, so another 5 places made up on that lap. Pensaval has the fastest lap, a 1:53.34. The fastest lap earlier was a 1:51.11, set by Pensaval, who continues to lead here, but Jas Sapra is right on his tail as they go into Shallows Corner, and the challenge on for the M1 class lead as well. It's Michael Cutt trying to go around the outside of Rick Kerry. We saw this happen before the safety car went out, and he's not really been able to make that work. So it's Rick Kerry still 3rd, but leading the M1 class. Mike Cutt in 4th position. They're making their way up towards Britons and then towards Hilltop for the 6th time in this race, but only really the 3rd time under racing conditions. Here are the 2 leaders cresting the hill. It's Sapra who's going to have a look down the inside, but he tucks back inside. Then it's Rick Kerry 3rd. And then behind, look at that, you've got Gary Hufford under a lot of pressure from the 2 M2 class leaders.
Absolutely, and Cook trying to find a way through at the same time of keeping Graham Crowhurst at bay, and he's doing so at the moment as they turn their way now through Knickerbrook, the right-handed corner, and Cook gets a better exit but doesn't have the power, and that might allow Graham Crowhurst to squeeze through. He's up the grass on the inside of Clay Hill. That's a pretty dicey move, but he couldn't get alongside Cook, so Cook does hang on, but Graham Crowhurst tried everything there to pull up alongside the similar M3 of Paul Cook. These 2 cars that were built to M3 regs. They're the M1 leaders as Mike Cutt tried to go around the outside of Rick Kerry, couldn't make that one work. So leaders go on to the last lap of the race. The last lap board is shown to Pensaval and Sapra, and then to the cars behind of Kerry and Cutt, the 2 M1 leaders, and then the rest of the field through, led by Gary Hufford.
Class 6 being led by Jim Benson now from Bill Redrup. It was only about half a second at the start of this lap. They should be coming through at any moment now, and we'll see where they have come through. David Kempton has, yes, he's come through in 13th place, so no more places made up for him, and it is Jim Benson that is still leading in the 6-cylinder class, the Class M1 cars, heading down through Island Bend once again, and it's still Rick Kerry ahead of Mike Cutt, but is he going to have another of these brave goes around the outside at Shallows Corner? Rick Kerry's not going to give him much choice. He's not going to let him go down the inside. But it's a slightly different tactic taken that time by the race 1 winner, Mike Cutt. The 2 leads about 4 seconds up the road now, but they're from the invitation class, so we don't worry too much about those. There's the... Oh, and it's Hufford now with Paul Cook behind him. They've dropped Graham Crowhurst as well. That's the M2 class battle.
Yeah, so Paul Cook doesn't have to worry about keeping him behind so much. And Kerry's got perhaps a bit of a bigger margin over Mike Cutt in towards Hislops. Although a better line, I think, for Cutt. Yes, he's right back on the tail of Rick Kerry, but nowhere to go. He tries to come up the inside at Knickerbrook, but there just isn't the room to get alongside Rick Kerry, who's been defending very well during the course of this race. Somebody's lost their bumper at the Britain's chicane by the looks of things, but hopefully have been able to continue. Kerry and Cutt then look like they're probably going to finish in that order, because Rick Kerry's good defensive drive it has been, but out front here, and the invitational cars turn into Lodge.
Yeah, so Michael Pensaval heading up towards Lodge Corner for the final time. There's a car off down at Shallows Corner, we can see, but the checkered flag goes out now, and it's Michael Pensaval that takes the checkered flag to win the race from Jas Sapra in 2nd place, but for the 4th time this season, it's an M1 class victory for Rick Kerry, just ahead of Michael Cutt. There was only about 0.3 of a second between those two. 5th place goes the way of number 4, Gary Hufford. 6th, only just by 0.15 of a second, is number 26, Paul Cook, from number 15, Graham Crowhurst. 69. Jason Hollyhead is 8th. Adrian Williams is 9th. Richard Bromley is 10th. Did we work out who that car was that was off, Josh?
I think it was Cole McMillan that was second in the Cup class up to that point, so he had been having a good race off there at Island Bend. And the bumper that was missing there, that's one for the leader car, isn't it? Michael Pencerville, I think, lost his bumper up at Britain's. The 6-cylinder cars are through, and it's Jim Benson that wins this time. He beat Bill Reddrop, and the Cup class winner should be through soon. Number 46, Matt Page. Here he comes, so he wins the Cup class. And I think the rest of his class a bit further back.
Yeah, so a short but sweet restart after the safety car then. Just a few racing laps. So we've got one off as well towards the end. That's the 83 car that has had a moment. That's Gary Burstow, the driver from Kings Langley in his M3.
A weird place he's ended up, isn't
yeah,
it?
It's between Shallows Corner and Britain's. Not normally a place where you see cars go. So quite how he got there, I'm not quite sure. But there, as Michael Pencerville fails to stop to pick up the bumper that has fallen off his car, Michael Pencerville heading round on the slowing down lap, just Sapra second. But Rick Carey there getting an important win as far as the M1 Class Championship is concerned, finishing ahead of his rivals Mike Cutt and Gary Hufford. Polcock not really going to be a contender for Class M2, I don't think, because he's missed several races.
But he's taken points away from Crowhurst, who was looking at that overall championship battle against Matt Page.
He was, indeed. And Adrian Williams, I think, will still be ahead in Class A2, but Crowhurst will be narrowing that gap now.
Yeah, Crowhurst is better on the drop scores.
Yeah. The 6-cylinder class, Jim Benson winning that by about 4 seconds in the end from Bill Reddrop, and Dominic Earley was third within that class, and Matt Page getting another Cup class win, so he is looking like the man who is heading towards the championship this year, Josh.
Yeah, nobody's really been able to challenge him. That first race that Clive Watson won, but Matt Page has sort of been dominant in every race since. Nobody has come particularly close to him. So Matt Page, the form driver there in Cup, finishing 16th overall and about 20 seconds, I think, clear of the rest.
But a bit of a shame that we lost so much racing time there, but what is good is the size of the grid here that we have in the BMW Car Club Racing Championship. I mean, without a doubt now, it's the biggest BMW sort of multi-make category in the UK.
Absolutely.
Multi-mark, I should say. Multi-model, probably the word I'm looking for.
And there's lots of BMW championships about, which I think has been a feature of Autosport over the course of the last couple of years. But this new series, as it was last season, by the BMW Car Club, has absolutely caught on. I guess having the car club as part of the championships, they really helped bring out people with their BMWs. And if you're a BMW fan, part of the car club, perhaps with your own car, this is a great series to be able to watch.
We've seen all the drivers who have been racing in other categories in these cars moving across to the BMW Car Club Racing Championship, as well as the word has spread as to what great racing and good value and what a friendly atmosphere it is.
Yeah, because of course running on treaded tyres here, I think, rather than slicks in other places, that helps to keep the price down, which is all really about the 750 Motor Club, the affordability of it. Majority of the championships all run on treaded tyres, which tends to keep the prices in a better position for competitors, rather than having to put a new set of slicks on every time out. And the power to weight ratio and all that type of thing helps to keep the regulations those regulations keeping the cars pretty equal, and you see the great battles in all the classes we've been speaking about.
I know we've been getting grids very regularly quite close to capacity this year, but I know that Neil McDonald, who's the man behind the championship, is already sort of trying to plan ahead for next year, fully expecting more of the same, or even having the sort of problem potentially of oversubscribed grids, which is a nice problem to have, but I'm sure it's one that can be dealt with.
Well, I guess there could be a nice split as well with the M-powered cars, perhaps having their own race, and then to the rest, and then that will really perhaps give more interest to those perhaps with the 4- and 6-cylinder cars to have a race without having to worry about the big power cars in the race.
And as you say, there's plenty of cars that would be eligible out there as well to move across into the BMW Car Club Racing Championship, so I really do see a bright future for it over the coming seasons, and indeed for the rest of this year with the 750 Motor Club. I can see drivers now heading in towards the clutches of Jacob Harris, so we'll be ready and waiting to hear from him in just a few moments' time.
We are down here in the pits with Rick Kelly. Rick, winner of Class M1.
Yeah, that's right. I know Cutsy behind me was a lot faster, and I just had to defend for my life for three laps because of the safety car. But yeah, didn't expect that, to be honest.
How tough is it to defend around here?
It's fairly. I mean, I've been about for a long time, and I knew I probably had a bit of grunt. If I could get out with the corners right, you just had to defend on the way in. So it didn't do me lap times any good, but it got me a result, which is great.
Is the heat still an issue out there, or is it cooling down a bit this late in the evening?
Still hot for me. My car do run a bit hot. But because we'd already done three laps at race pace, it didn't really. The heat didn't come into it so much. I'm just hot.
So a bit less of a challenge. And you're out next round as well?
Yeah, Snetterton is the next one, my home track. So looking forward to that. So it should be good.
Looks like you're hitting form at the right time.
Yeah, hopefully so. I've had 3, it's my 4th win. So there the car's finally getting set up after a lot of hardship, really. It's been really hard to get it running right, but we're sort of getting there now.
How tough is it to set up one of these BMWs for a race meeting?
With mine, because it's a V8 in a 1 Series, it's different. There's not anybody else sort of really running at front running in this series. So with the other cars, they've been tried and tested for years. So I'm probably developing every time I go out in the car.
Okay, so it's a bit tougher than most then?
Yeah, it's tougher than most, I think. But yeah, we're getting there slowly.
Glad to hear it. Congratulations on your race win and all the best to Snetterton.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Paul Cook. And Paul, have I spoken to you already today?
Yes, yeah, once, yeah.
So a successful day for you then?
Yeah, really good. First sort of kind of BMW race back after a 3-month sabbatical. And yeah, 2 wins is top of the draw.
Is it the rest and relaxation did it, or is it your permanent class?
No, the rest and relaxation did this, and yeah, it's just missing the racing really. Give me the oomph to get out and do it.
How long did it take you to get back into the groove?
Yeah, it's not easy, but you know, yeah, a couple of laps. The race itself, struggled to get past Gary, Graham putting a lot of pressure on me. Kept on missing 4th gear, so give Graham a few opportunities to get by, but yeah, overall, it's a good weekend.
Have you enjoyed it here at Oulton Park?
Yeah, it's a cracking track. Really love it. Back here again 3 weeks' time in the MR2 Championship, so I shall know my way around by then.
Absolutely. Thanks for talking to us. All the best for that weekend. And we have now Jim Benson, who is Class 6 winner. Jim, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a bit of a fraught race from the start, but I managed to stay out of trouble and capitalised on that.
Bit of an improvement on your 3rd place from earlier. What have you done differently this afternoon?
Well, I made a bit of a bad start again in race 1. So although it wasn't the greatest to start, it was much better, and staying out of trouble paid the dividends. So the form from the last couple of races is carried forward. So I know I've got the pace with the last 3 race wins. So it's nice to come on the top step again.
Looking to finish the season strongly then. How are you at Snetterton?
Snet, yeah, it's a power circuit. So hopefully the bigger classes will clear off and leave us 6-cylinder, the Class 6 to ourselves. Yeah, it's a track known. It's a common track for me as well. So hopefully I'll perform well there as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for talking to us, and congratulations on your class win. Right then, we have 2 more races left for you here at Oulton Park today, and we have another interview as well, actually. Matt Page, Cup Class winner. Apologies, we do have 2 more races, but first, Matt, tell us about your race.
It was a little bit exciting at the start of it. Every 3 cars going off and that, and I had to try and keep it from smashing up into them. But after that, I thought I had a nice clear gap from the other Cup cars on the restart, so I just kept myself to myself and just kept it going, keeping it on the track.
Is it tough keeping these things on race pace after the safety car? A few people have mentioned these cars get a bit hot. You thankful for the break?
No, I like to just go flat out the whole way. You know, I don't like missing the safety car, and it's just shame for the other guys to smash up their cars and everything. So I don't like any of that. I just like to go racing and everyone to benefit from it. You know, it's just about going out there and having fun at the end of the day. So it's not nice to see it. But the car was absolutely epic. There was no downfall on it, whether it gets hot or cold. I mean, the tyres go off a little bit, so it probably done a favour on the tyres. But other than that, it was actually a really good drive.
All in all, a good race meet for you then.
Yeah, brilliant. 2 wins. Thanks.
Congratulations. Thanks for talking to us. Right, now we have the remaining 2 races. First up is the Protect Sparks Sports Special.
So we've got coming up now the 12th round of the Protect Shocks Sports Specials Championship, with just one more meeting to go at Snetterton. After this, we're really getting to the business end of the championship now. Earlier on today, it was a win for Andy Hiley in his Chronos by about 6 seconds or so from Paul Boyd, and Martin Gambling in their Eclipses, winning overall and Class A as well for the class for more powerful cars of up to 340 brake horsepower per tonne. In Class B, it was Chris Pike, and here's Pro Comp LA Gold from Brendan Dudley, and then David Winter's low cost VVT. They won the 270 brake horsepower class split. Also, we had our Mazda low cost winner being Oliver Batten from James Millman, and Stuart Sellers also racing within Class B, but they're also getting separate awards as well. And our sole MEV MX150R finisher was Sylvia Much, she won Class C. The grid for this race is set by the second fastest times from qualifying this morning, and as the cars are about to be released out onto the circuit, let's tell you how the grid is going to line up. Pole position will be number 53, Andy Hiley in his Chronos, and alongside him will be number 11, that's Paul Collingwood in the Eclipse. Second row, 82, Rob Johnson in the Sienna, and 92, Martin Gambling in another Eclipse. Third row, number 1, Lee M, and 21, Adrian Cooper, both in Pro Comp LA Gold. Then on the fourth row, 20, Mark Conroy in the orange Sienna that you can see there, and the white and black Sienna of Anton Landon, 64, is alongside him. On the fifth row, number 17, Paul Boyd, who came through onto the podium earlier on in the Eclipse, and 25, the fastest of the Class B cars, Chris Pike. Row 6 will be 33, Stephen Ward in the Typhon, and 158, Brendan Dudley in the Pro Comp. The seventh row, the first of the Mazda low cost, being number 37, Ben Powney, who had a rather strange off in the earlier race, and number 10, Nigel Brown. The eighth row is number 74, Steve Wells, and number 16, Stuart Thompson, the Class B Championship leader coming into this weekend. The ninth row, 44 and 35, 44, Stephen Lansley in the Pro Comp, and 35, David Winter in the low cost. The 10th row, 97 and 81, being Justin Cox's Caterham 7, and 81, the Mazda low cost race 1 winner, Oliver Batten. Row 11 will be 63, James Millman, and number 19, Martin Buckland in the STM Phoenix, alongside the Mazda low cost this time. And on the 12th row, 61, Stuart Sellers, the TSR team boss in the Mazda low cost, and 78, Gerard O'Donoghue in the MEV. 13th row, 77, Lee Dolby's Mazda low cost, and 65, Martin Hayward in the Silver Phoenix. Then it's 26, Alan Robinson in the Silver Phoenix, alongside 58, Mickey Scott in the MEV. 15th row, 70, Bradley Snow, and 38, Richard Smart, both of them in Silver Phoenixes. Then at the back, 18, Colin Benham in the Fulcrum, and Sylvia Much in the MEV to round out what should be a 32-car field, if indeed they are all there, for what will be a 13-minute plus 1 lap race. Championship-wise, the events earlier on today have had a little bit of impact on the championship, in that with drop scores now being taken into account, it's Andy Hiley leading on 120 points. Second on 105 points is another Class A car, that's Martin Gambling. Third on 101 is David Winter. 4th on 97 is Chris Pike. And 5th on 95 is Stuart Thompson, the Class B driver that's actually much further up in the standings before those drop scores are taken into account. And it's just those 5 drivers now, I think, that can mathematically win the championship by my reckoning. I think the rest of them probably now out of contention for the overall honours. So, Josh, it's another good race in prospect. A feature of the first race, of course, was the drive of Paul Boyd, because he started that race down in 9th as well, I think it was, and came up to take 2nd place in the Eclipse. And he said it was actually his first time here, which surprised me a little bit.
So I suspect we'll see similar things again from him, because he was pretty much on Andy Heidi's pace by the end of the race. I guess he should start at that pace this time. Maybe he can get through a little bit quicker if the sort of gaps work for him. And it's a shame, I guess, we won't have him right up at the front with Hiley to have a good battle between the two of them. But it's definitely going to be interesting watching Paul Boyd come through the field during the course of the race.
Yeah, Hiley did a 1:49.61 in the early race to break the lap record. The best time for Boyd was a 1:49.97, so it was only about 0.3 off. That's Paul Collingwood's car.
And another feature of this race seems to be Andy Hiley not pulling right up to his marks like the rest do.
Yeah, good to note actually that Paul Collingwood is there, because it was a retirement from the earlier race. As too was Rob Johnston, so he's out there. So he too is Mark Conway in that car. You can see on screen there, first time out in that new Sienna S2000. So I imagine that's got a Honda S2000 engine. I'm imagining that's why it's so named.
Yeah, maybe it has some more running parts on that car too. So that's good to see, because of course it's the MEVs. They come from the MX-5, don't they?
Yeah.
The Mazda Locos also MX-5 running gear on that car too. Good to see how the couple of Caterhams out there as well.
Yeah, you've got I think they're both, well, one of them certainly is the Sigmax car, so that's another Ford engine. We've got the Z-Tech engines will be quite prevalent as well within Class B. A few Duratechs out there on the grid as well, no doubt. So last few cars coming into position. Colourful grid, isn't it? Lots of variety: oranges, yellows, greys, reds, blues, greens. Really nicely turned out grid for this Protect Shock Sport Specials race.
5-second board already been shown, so then we get it underway.
Red lights go on and they go out. Away we go. And a pretty even start between the two front row. Actually, it's not that good a start by Andy Hiley, because he's dropped back to about 3rd place. But he did this at the earlier race as well, let's not forget. So it's Paul Collingwood that has the lead, and as they turn their way through Old Hall, it's Rob Johnston following him. Then it looks like Hiley in 3rd place. One of the cars a bit further back, getting out over the runoff area on the first corner. But it's Martin Gambling that's up to 3rd place there by the looks of it, as they headed down into Cascades ahead of Andy Hiley. But we saw this in the first race. He dropped back to about 4th place, and half a lap later he was in the lead.
Wonder if the power distribution on the Kronos doesn't work well off the line, but you can see there he's fighting back. He's already got Gambling. He's gone round the outside of Johnston. Now he's up the inside of the leader, and he gets Paul Collingwood as well. He basically went round everybody at the same time, because he was 4th in Cascade. He leads now, though, on the run down towards the Britain chicane. Then you've got Collingwood, Johnston and Gambling following. There's Paul Boyd, 17. Watch out for him. He was the man on the move in the earlier race, not quite as dramatically as Hiley, getting them all in one go. But Paul Boyd picking them off one by one. I think he'll do the same here. He's getting alongside Adrian Cooper on the running over Hilltop up towards the Hislop chicane. But Gambling, he's fighting past Johnston up the inside. Here's the Paul Boyd move. That doesn't work. He backed right out of it.
Yeah, worth mentioning that the last time the Sports Specials were here in 2016, Rob Johnston was one of the race winners. Clive Hudson, Paul Boyd's long-time teammate in the Eclipse, was the other on that occasion 3 years or so ago. There's the fulcrum of Colin Benham, a former champion in Sports Specials as well. But here are our leaders up at Druids then. It's Hiley leading in the car that's also raced in RGB, the bike engine category in the past, from the rest of them. As they come up towards Lodge Corner, it's Collingwood in 2nd. Gambling's looking to take that off him, though. He's much later on the brakes into Lodge Corner, and it looks like he went through. We'll get confirmation of that when they come back into our sight in the commentary box. Yes, he has done so. It's the red car now up into 2nd of Martin Gambling. Paul Collingwood down to 3rd. He might go down to 4th place here, because Rob Johnston up on the inside of him into Old Hall Corner, but Collingwood could just about see that one off.
Yes, Johnston just couldn't find enough room. He runs a bit wide. You got Conroy, his teammate, not far behind, and Liam in 6th. So not much progress from Paul Boyd on that first lap. He just can't get past Adrian Cooper, so that's hampering his progress. Chris Pike leads Class B. Stuart Thompson started well, though, up to 2nd, ahead of Brendan Dudley, and then Ben Powney up next, who's also the best of the Mazda low cost. There is Gambling in 2nd, turning his way through Island Bend, but Hiley getting away in front of him, but he's dropping the battle for 3rd between Collingwood and Johnston. P3 and 4, but up the inside at the back of that shot, Paul Boyd. He's going to get Adrian Cooper this time, up the inside in Shell hairpin. Such a good run through the corner. Now he's alongside Liam, and he's going past him too. So that's a couple of places sort of in one. Move through for Paul Boyd. He's 6th now.
Yeah, he is. So the next target is the Sienna. In fact, a couple of Siennas. Mark Conroy is the first of those that he'll come across, number 20. And then the 82 car of Rob Johnston has picked off one of those now under braking for Hislop, so he's gone through to 5th place now. Rob Johnston, the next target to get up into the top 4 and back on terms with his fellow Eclipse drivers.
So flying along now is Paul Boyd, and is he going to get past Johnston maybe over towards Druids? They go. No, he couldn't quite get alongside Johnston there, but Paul Boyd doing very similar to what Andy Hiley did and just picking them off in one big row. So out onto the straight where they go underneath Warwick Bridge, and here comes Boyd up the inside, and he's going to get Johnston here, I think. He does, and in the background, Liam trying to do the same to Mark Conroy. So not a good corner there for the Siennas of Johnston and of Conroy. They both lost out there, but maybe Conroy's going to fight back, or is he actually going to lose another one? Because Adrian Cooper's coming around the outside of him, and he does it. So Conroy's lost 2 there. And then the car at the back of that queue is the one of Anton Landon. So that's a good 4-car battle. Liam now has Adrian Cooper coming up alongside him, and Cooper goes through. Both former champions, I think, Adrian Cooper and Liam having a good battle.
Yeah, both of them champions in the past. So, indeed, the reigning champion is Liam. And he switched from Class B to A partway through this season. So 8.5 minutes of the race left to go. Andy Hiley, unsurprisingly, with the best lap of the race of 1:49.670, so only a few hundredths of a second slower than the time he managed in the earlier race. As we watch those two then battling with each other, it's not really helping them to get any closer to Rob Johnston in the Sienna, car named after an African moth. As we watch those two go over the curbs there, then you've got the two Siennas next up.
They're the Cooper M battle, both Pro Cop LA Golds, aren't they? Racing for the 6th position. Big lock up though from Cooper. Can he get the car stopped? He can. He had a huge amount of understeer as he turned through the right-handed element of the Hislop chicane, but he got it turned in eventually. And now they head off up the hill, up Clay Hill, up towards the Druids. Very quick right-hander. They go through the left kink first. But I think Cooper is there ahead of them. Yep, he is. He hangs on to that 6th position, and they head off down the straight again. In the background of that shot, so already at Lodge, I reckon Paul Boyd's ahead of Paul Collingwood now for 3rd. We'll check that when they cross the line.
Well, Hiley's gone through in the lead, Gambling 2nd, and yes, it is Paul Boyd now up into 3rd place in the yellow car. Now, how far is he behind Martin Gambling? He's about 2.5 seconds behind Martin Gambling, but on that lap he did a 1:50.42, 9/10, no, just 1.1 seconds faster than Boyd. And we've got, is that Conroy, I think, coming into the pit. So the number 20 car of Mark Conroy, the second of the signers, is going to be a retirement again by the looks of it for the 2nd race today.
Shame, because that goes well, didn't it, when Mark Conroy the car was working.
It would be excellent in a 2-lap race.
I mean, Class B, Chris Pike's got a massive lead there, but Stuart Thompson and Ben Powney are battling for 2nd and 3rd. The Caterham versus the low cost. David Winter, Brendan Dudley, Martin Buckland, all battling there. So that's a great battle of a 2nd in Class B. So whether we can pick that up, the battle between Stuart Thompson and Ben Powney, 16 and 37, that will be a good one to watch. Mark Conroy was a short stop. Is he going to get back out? There's Stephen Wells. So it's the cars behind Wells who are battling for 2nd in Class B. There's Thompson. That's a bit of a bigger gap now over Ben Powney.
Yeah, Powney in the first of the Mazda low cost then in 14th position. Then you've got David Winter and Brendan Dudley and Martin Buckland. And that's a big group of cars. Here they are. So it's really Thompson and Powney disputing 2nd place in Class B. Chris Pike, number 25, a bit further up the road. There's the 44 car of Stephen Lansley. He's actually a Class A car, running in 20th position there. just ahead of Oliver Batten in his Mazda low cost.
Strange for Stephen Lansley, because we've seen that car run really well in the past, haven't we? But this year not going particularly. Oh, big moment there for Brendan Dudley. He is the driver in one of the Pro Comp LA Golds that run in that class.
There's Justin Cox in the number 97 Caterham going through. There's one off into Druids by the looks of it. So we'll try and pick up what has gone on down there in a moment as Paul Collingwood comes across the line. He is now being chased by Rob Johnston. So Collingwood in number 11, Rob Johnston in number 82. We think possibly there is a car behind all of that, but we can't actually tell. We'll try and work out who's up and down the order.
Cooper and M haven't come through, who are battling hard. That's Liam, isn't it?
Yeah.
He somehow managed to end up behind the first pile of tyres. Not quite sure how he... Notice he's pulled off after hitting something.
Yeah, possibly.
But he's out the car and okay. Not sure where Adrian Cooper's ended up.
No, he's not come through either. But this is the battle for second place in Class B on your screens now. Number 16 is Stuart Thompson, the Class B Championship leader. Ben Panner right behind him. There's Adrian Cooper's number 21 car. Now all the dust has settled. So it looks like there was a coming together between the two teammates, effectively, in the Pro Comp LA Goals. Adrian Cooper and Liam. So that's not going to go down too well, one wouldn't have thought. There's the 65 car of Martin Hayward, just ahead of number 70, Bradley Snow, in their Silver Phoenixes. And there is the 58 car, that's Mickey Scott's Mev MX150R, just putting a split of flame out of the back of it. 4 minutes and 20 seconds to go. That's Rob Johnston just going through a shot in 5th position. There's Anton Landon, number 64, in 6th position, just coming down in towards Hislops. 7th place then is number 25, Chris Pike. So with demise of M and Cooper, Pike up into 7th place overall.
And the Class B leader, of course. Notice that Gamble and Boyd are quite close for second now. Less than a second between them.
Mark Conroy back into the pits for a second time.
OK, so let's see. There we go, you see him on the screen. We'll try and pick up what's going on for second between Gamblin and Boyd, because they were less than a second apart. Here's Hiley out of Deers Leap, so he completes 5 laps as the leader. Great battle in Class B on the screens. Gamblin's still ahead of Boyd, by the way, so let's watch the screens. You've got Batten in there in the Mazda low cost. You've got the Pro Comps and the Caterhams too. But here's the battle for second overall in between Gamblin and Boyd, the two Eclipses.
Yeah, so the gap was 0.4 of a second as they came over the line this time. Boyd into the 49. Now he's gone even faster than he did in the earlier race, a 1:49.82. So too is Andy Hiley, by the way. He's done 1:49.55 now, so they've both gone just a few hundredths of a second quicker. So two similar cars here, but Paul Boyd has been driving these Eclipses for a lot longer than has Martin Gambling, who started out in low cost. We've seen him racing the Compact Cup as well. He's occasionally shared the BMW Z3 with Matt Sherrington in long distance races as well. So fight on for second place here, but you do kind of fancy that Paul Boyd in the yellow number 17 car, the Anglesey race winner, is going to make it through at some point. Gambling a double winner at Castle Combe earlier on in the year. Out of Britain's, up over Hilltop they'll go, and now down into Hislops. Is this going to be where Paul Boyd has a go? Yes, he looks to the inside, but then decides better of it. Pulls back into the slipstream of Martin Gambling. Line astern through there. Possibly then, well, I mean, there may well be yellow flags at Druids if he was thinking about making a move there, if those are still required after the offs for the two cars there, the two Pro Comp LA Golds. Coming up to that part of the circuit now. Can't see any yellow flags from that camera shot. In fact, it looks like it is clear from that point of view. And actually, it looks like Gambling's pulled away a little bit.
Good to see both those drivers out the car. So particularly for Adrian Cooper, it looked like, yeah, they can see he's gone pretty heavily, hasn't he, into the tyre wall. So good to see him out.
And there is a green flag on the exit, so there must be a yellow on the way in.
OK, so like I say, good to see them out the cars and OK. Leaders across the line. Andy Hiley's done 6 laps now and is just under 5 seconds ahead of these two battling Eclipses. And it's Gambling ahead of Boyd. Boyd was the winner at Anglesey, beat Andy Hiley in a fair fight there, whereas Gambling got his 2 wins at Combe when Hiley had car issues. But Gambling much further ahead in the championship. 5 podiums for him before this weekend, and actually 5 for Boyd too. Down Lakeside they go. Slow lap from Chris Pike, I see. Our Class B leader has dropped back a bit on that lap, so hopefully all is okay for him. He still leads that class by a good margin. Just watching him come across the line. Now, there's Hiley, though, our leader. We haven't really seen much of Hiley, have we, today? He's been pretty dominant. Here's the second place battle. Gambling still ahead of Boyd into the British chicane. Here the Class B second place battle. That's Thompson and
David Winter now, isn't
Winter,
it?
yes. So that's the low-cost chase in the Caterham.
But it's Ben Powney just behind. There he is, still leading the Mazda low-cost division from Oliver Batten and James Millman. With less than a minute to go in this race, so it'll be the last lap board for Andy Hiley next time around.
Into Island Bend comes that battle for second place in Class B. There's Thompson, and then Winter behind. Of course, these are battling, or two of the battlers in the Class B Championship, aren't they, with Chris Pike?
Yeah.
And all three of them are on the podium positions in this race too. And Stuart Thompson still yet to win, though.
Be interesting to see if Chris Pike's lost any more time on this lap as well. He's not sort of fallen back into their clutches by any stretch of the imagination just yet. So Winter chasing after the Caterham of Thompson through Britain's chicane.
Yeah, Pike's 20 seconds ahead of them, isn't he?
And the last lap board's just gone out, and we've got nose to tail for the lead going into Old Hall Corner for second, I should say. And this time Paul Boyd does go down the inside of Martin Gambling. And Gambling just about holds on there, but Boyd's going to try and position his car on the left-hand side of the circuit, which with the inside for Cascades. Gambling tries to cut that off on the right-hand flick down through Denton, so it looks like it's going to be Gambling number 99 that for the moment holds on. Can he do it all the way to the line, Josh?
It's a real challenge, wasn't it, into Old Hall from Boyd, and he looks like he's challenging again on the run up towards Island Bend, the fast left-hander. Is he alongside Boyd? No, he can't quite get to Gambling there, but he's still close enough to fight in towards the Shellall's hairpin. He's trying to go right round the outside. It's a tougher move to pull off, but if he can get there, it'd be the inside for the chicane. Couldn't do it, so he switches line. Gambling's got the inside for Britons, but Boyd's alongside him. Who's going to have to give the position? Boyd, Gambling jumps over the curb. It was a pretty stout defence there from Gambling. Hard up over the curbs. Another slow lap from Pike, I see, but he's still a decent amount ahead of the rest. But will he be able to hold on?
Yeah, he's got about 10 seconds in hand. They're on to their last lap as well now. It's still Gambling in this all-eclipse battle for second place from Paul Boyd here. They're not too worried about Andy Hiley and the Chronottis up the road. And it looks like he's going to take the win here. But it's a matter of eclipse pride. Is it going to be Gambling or Boyd then that takes it? There's Hiley just turning into Druids. Now, he's not actually that far ahead of these two, is he? As they turn their way through Druids for the final time. And along the straight up towards Lodge Corner, it looks like Gambling's just about got enough of a gap, unless Boyd is very late on the brakes into Lodge Corner. Into Lodge they come. He's not very late on the brakes into Lodge Corner, so it's going to be Andy Hiley that is going to come through to take a second win today in the Protect Shock Sports Specials Championship. It's side by side over the line for second place, and who gets the verdict? It is a dead heat for second place. Paul Boyd and Martin Gambling, both exactly the same times, 1.71 seconds behind the leader. It's not the first time we've seen that today. Paul Collingwood, number 11, is 4th. 82, Rob Johnston, is 5th. 64, Anton Landon has yet to come through, but should come home in 6th place, Josh.
See if we can pick up Chris Pike, our Class B leader, car number 25, because he's been slowing on those last couple of laps, particularly on the last one. He should be the next, one of the next cars through. There's Liam and Adrian Cooper, wasn't it, after their incident? We're waiting for our Class B leader. Has Chris Pike made it through this last lap? Car number 25, the Pro Comp. Yes, there he is. He does manage to crawl to the flag after, 3 slow laps at the end there.
And he's pulling straight onto the grass at the end of the race, so he obviously knows there was a problem, which he's just managed to nurse to the checkered flag, and then he's pulled off. He's not going to make it round the slowing down lap, which pretty much means to get to hear from him at the end of the race either, unfortunately.
Stuart Thompson was second. He held on ahead of David Winter, and Ben Powney caught them again towards the end. So Powney fourth, but the best of the Mazda low costs. Behind him in that category was Oliver Batten and Stuart Sellers, second and third in Mazda low costs. But Chris Pike, you see on your screens, the winner of Class B, out of the race. And Martin Gambling, that race to the flag against Paul Boyd, looked like he was celebrating winning that battle, but whether that's going to be the case with the dead heat, we should wait to get a vote. And interestingly, whether Hiley was backing off because it was the last lap, they were getting pretty close to him, weren't they, only a couple of seconds away?
They were, and obviously things in the championship depend on whether Gambling is classified second or third there. If we assume that he's classified second for a moment, as a working assumption, he'll be 19 points behind Andy Hiley. and he would still be in with a chance of the championship going into the final meeting at Snetterton.
Basically, Hiley just needs one good race there, doesn't he?
He does, doesn't he?
Well, we have seen, like at Castle Combe, where that car has had issues.
Yeah, mathematically, because the way the drop scores are working, virtually everybody who went into that race still with a chance of taking the title is still in with a chance of taking the title, because they all picked up useful points. None of them lower down than third in their respective classes, none of the top 5.
Important for Chris Pike to get that home, because that puts him in a good place for the Class B Championship heading to that final meeting. So he should have overhauled. He's pretty tight, isn't it, between Winter, Thompson and Pike at Snetterton. But Pike's the driver with the pace, but this car issue that's hampered him at the end a problem.
On your screen there, you can see Chris talking to Matt Gilmore, who's on the other side of the fence, the Pro Comp boss, just to discuss what the problem might have been towards the end of the race. The thing that matters is that he has brought the car home, though. For parking up about 100 yards over the line.
I wonder if it was leaking some sort of oil. He sort of touched around the engine bay and he sort of looked at his finger and well, that's not very nice. So whether it was some sort of leak there. But the winners are heading towards Parc Fermé, so we shall hear from them shortly here at Oulton Park, with just the one further race to go at here, which will be for the bike sports. So they had a pretty eventful race earlier.
They certainly did, didn't they? Just think about the sports specials though, because the fact that it's 2 drop scores at the end of the season. Hiley's already had sort of 3 non-results, if you like. So we say he needs one decent result, but equally a non-finish there could be quite damaging. And then really you're looking at gambling and Winter, possibly the ones to pick up the pieces if Hiley has some kind of disaster. But it takes a couple of non-finishes. We've seen drivers today have 2 non-finishes. Mark Conroy, for example, in the Sienna, has had not much luck here today at Oulton Park.
And as you say, 3 DNFs for Hiley shows that car hasn't been reliable every time out.
No, and I think one of the issues he's had over the last couple of seasons is trying to get the reliability first. And actually now he's got that, pretty much got the reliability sorted to some degree, but the pace is there as well, and it was really a phenomenal pace. 1:49.55, reducing his own lap record by about another tenth of a second, I think, in that race. So that is a really good pace in a car that runs on treaded tyres, let's not forget.
Absolutely. So see the marshal's going to have to do some work, maybe with the circuit staff too, up there at Druids, because Adrian Cooper's car looked like that went in pretty heavily, didn't it, into the tyre wall there in that incident with Liam.
Yeah, the circuit staff are going to have to do some work, aren't they, to try and get the tyre barriers rebuilt for this final bike sports race of the day.
See a good number of spectators here as well. You see the car park there, staying right to the end of the 750 Motor Club race day. It's good to see lots of people coming out for this Oulton Park meeting.
Yes, I should think this is probably one of the highlights of the season here at Oulton Park, with 750 Motor Club making their visit, always bringing very good grids and entertaining racing. So I'm sure that it's one that the locals here, and there's always a good number of them at Oulton Park, really have enjoyed, with a good mix of racing, different types of cars, the endurance races and sprint races as well. It's been very entertaining to watch from our commentary box, watching on the screens, and I'm sure it has been from trackside as well, at many of the excellent vantage points that they have here at Oulton Park. So we'll see if we do manage to get Chris Pike, because his car has now been taken to Parc Fermé, I think. But we'll certainly hope to get our overall top 3, Martin Gambling, Paul Boyd and Andy Hiley. They'll be being brought out of Parc Fermé even as we speak, I think, and towards Jacob Harris. So we will head down now to the pit lane and hear from our top 3 drivers from the Protect Truck Sports Specials race with Jacob.
I'm down here with Mazda Low Cost Class winner Ben Penny. Ben, tell us about your race.
Yeah, pretty action-packed. It's always good fun running with these sports specials guys. There's always like different strengths of the cars, but yeah, brilliant race. And I don't know where the other Mazda guys were, but I'm guessing they're behind me, which is good.
How tough is it keeping pace with the big boys?
It's quite good. It's like David and Goliath, I think. It's it's really cool. I enjoy the challenge, and it's quite hard around here because there's quite a few long straights where they can kind of get away, but I gave it my best, so yeah, all good.
And how's your weekend being at Oulton Park? You enjoyed yourself up here in Cheshire?
Yeah, no, it's been really good. The first race, unfortunately, ended in a bit of a trip to the barriers, which is never good, is it? But yeah, apart from that, it's all been good. And yeah, the team at TSR have just been amazing all weekend. So managed to get the car ready as per usual, even with the little bit of damage we had. So all good.
Brilliant. Thanks for talking to us, Ben. Next up, we have Chris Pike, who is the B-Class winner. Chris, thank you very much for coming to chat with us again, as you've won twice today.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I very nearly didn't finish, actually. I was driving along, and I think it was about 3 laps before the end, and I kept thinking my foot was on fire. And it turned out there's a burst hose in there, and then the car got hot. And I kept looking at the temperatures, and it got quite high. And then the last lap board came out, and I thought, I need to finish, I need the points. So I literally crossed the line and then pulled it straight over, which is why I got towed in. But yeah, no, it was good. It was good. Got off to a good start, and then just sort of kept it consistent, and then just about finished the race.
Just how hot are we talking?
It felt like my foot was on fire. It felt like someone had actually put a match to my foot. And then sort of coming out the last corner, I think it was 3 or 4 laps from the end, I nearly lost it. And I thought, well, something's leaking here. But yeah, no, it's good. It's good. At least we finished. That's the main thing. We needed the points. So yeah.
A little bit of work to do before the next round then.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah. Hopefully it's not too serious. But we'll have a look. We'll get it back and have a look at it. But we'll be out for the next round anyway, whatever happens.
Good stuff. Get the duct tape out.
Okay, yeah, I will do. Cheers.
Thanks for talking to us. Next up, I believe we have our second and third place duo. So we have Paul Boyd and Martin Gamblin. Lads, we don't actually know who finished where. Close finish to the end.
That's such a close finish, and what a great race. He was quicker than me, and I was doing everything to keep him back. And no mistakes, but he was just quick, and I don't know who's won it. Who's not won it? I know who's won it.
I think it matters, yeah. The laps up to the finish were just fantastic. That was great racing. Loved it.
It was certainly great to watch. Can we expect to see more of the same next round?
Hope so.
Definitely.
Brilliant. Well, whoever did get there, congratulations. I think we're going to talk to the winner briefly now before the last race of the day. And the winner, who's just a bit distracted in a conversation with the other drivers. Andy Hindley is coming to talk with us now. Andy, congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
That's how you managed it.
How did I manage it? Made not quite as bad a start as last time, and managed to nick it round the outside towards Shell, get back in the lead there, and got the hammer down then, as it were, and tried to get 2 quick laps in to get away, and I managed to, so managed to drive clear then.
A solid double victory for you today. What is the sport special secret?
No idea. The secret of the championship, camaraderie. It's good, honest racing. Everybody enjoys it. Everybody looks after each other if there's a car problem, so it's just good.
Glad to hear it. Real community spirit here at 750 Motor Club. Expect to see you out next time?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Good stuff. All right, then. Congratulations, and I'll see you then. Right, I hear some engines firing up in the background, which must mean it's time for our last race of the day. That's the RLM Racing. Bike Sports, yes. Sorry, I thought it was low cost for a minute. There we go. RLM Racing Bike Sports on the way.
Round 12 of the RLM Racing Bike Sports Championship here at Oulton Park. To round out our day's racing, it's going to be an 18-minute plus 1 lap race. The cars released out onto the grid for the race shortly, and it should be another entertaining contest, I would think, with the race earlier on today, of course, being won by Scott Mittell, possibly somewhat surprisingly. Here, although he did take 3 wins last time out at Silverstone, possibly not really expected to go quite so well here this weekend, with the different circuit characteristics to Silverstone not necessarily suiting his lower capacity, less powerful motorcycle engined car, the eponymous Mittell MC41R. But the race was won by Scott earlier on, possibly partly because of incidents that befell other drivers. We had Josh Smith and Charles Hall tangling, which resulted in Charles Hall's Radical SR3 going off quite heavily into the barriers at Cascades. Josh Smith dropped to the back, survived, but climbed back up the order in the earlier race. And yeah, as we suspected, Charles Hall's car not out there for this second race of the day. So let's give you a rundown on how the grid will line up. The front row will be 11 Josh Smith in the Radical PR6, but the front row will be missing the number 77 car of Charles Hall. Row 2 will be number 27 Scott Mittell and number 8 Joe Locke, who led for quite a lot of the first race. Number 80 Casper Jensen on the third row of the grid, alongside number 16 Ashley Hicklin, who was on the podium earlier. Fourth row, number 95, Richard Stables in the Radical PR6, and James Brakel, number 3, in the SR3 RSX. Row 5, number 4, Tony Barwell's SR3, and Ian Charles in the PR6. Row 6, number 5, Doug Carter in the PR6, and 48, Andy Chittenden's SR3 RSX. Andrew Kimpton, the only SR4 in the race, is on the inside of row 7 in car 44, alongside number 17, Miles Drew's SR3. Another PR6 for John Morris, number 18, on the inside of row 8, next to number 6, Sean Peters, the relatively local man, a regular in the Cockshoot Cup, which is based up here in the Northwest in the past. He's in an SR3 RSX. Then the final couple of cars on the grid, Charles Adrian, number 21, in the SR3, and a similar car for number 98, Joe Stables. So 17 cars I think we will have on the grid for what is a rolling start this time, Josh.
Absolutely. It'd be interesting to see if Josh Smith's car's fully function again after that incident he had with Charles Hall. There was damage on that car in the earlier race. He just didn't have the pace that he had in qualifying. If he does, you kind of suspect he'll run away with it. But it's like a good battle between Mittell and Locke, so that should continue here. And if Josh Smith's car's not quite working as it should do, that could be a 3-car battle up front. At the back of the grid, you've got Joe Stables, who had issues in qualifying, but it went well in the first race. He won his class, and I think everything would suggest, Ian, that Joe Stables should wrap up the overall championship in this race.
Yes, that's entirely possible, I think, with the way things have gone for him so far this season. He came through to get a good result after an unpromising qualifying session, 5th overall, and the Class B victory earlier on, despite those problems with the blipper, as he was describing, making gear changes impossible, really, in qualifying this morning. That meant that he started at the back. Also, he's down a cylinder as well, down onto 3 cylinders. But we should see Joe Stables come through the field again, especially as hopefully this time we'll get the full 18 minutes of racing. Last time we did have quite a lengthy safety car interruption.
Absolutely. So should have a very different feel to this race, hopefully. Don't want anything like the accident we had earlier, that heavy accident for Charles Hall. That car he's very badly damaged. So a real shame that race had to have that to start. Hopefully, like I say, that won't happen this time. I'd be very interested to see if Josh Smith, like he did in qualifying, can run away with it, or if it'd be more likely the pace he had in that first race where he would really no quicker than anybody else. So here they come in, rolling start. It'll be just Josh Smith on pole.
Yep, so red lights are on, the safety car about to pull in. 18 minutes plus 1 lap of racing for the RLM Racing Bike Sports Championship. Round number 12 gets underway now. The lights go out. Away we go. Pretty good start by Scott Mittell from the second row of the grid, trying to get alongside Josh Smith there, but it's Joe Locke that tucks into second place, in fact, in the Radical all of the cars radicals in this race, apart from Scott Mittel's Mittel MC41R, which goes second, I think. One of them running out wide there. Yes, it is the Mittel second. Joe Locke down to third place, but it is Josh Smith then, the man that for the first half of the season was utterly dominant. He is leading the way this time, Josh.
Indeed he is, being chased by Mittel, like you say, into Island Bend. They turn with Joe Locke there third. Fourth, the leading Class B car, that's Casper Jensen. I think making his bike sports debut this weekend through the back hairpin at Shell Oiled. Mittel and Locke pretty close together there, but Jensen going with them. Get back to Richard Stables in fifth, who's ahead of Ash Hicklin. There's number 8 then, that's Locke in the Team Grey Motorsport Run car. Had a problematic Silverstone event, but won his class earlier, his first Class A win of the season in that earlier race here at Oulton, down into the Hislop chicane. Mittel not falling terribly far away from Josh Smith at this point, and really quick through the Hislop chicane. Mittel sideways on the exit of the corner. He's absolutely pulled away from Joe Locke through that sequence of corners.
He has indeed. So Locke in third place, but it's Smith leading, Mittel second. It'll be fascinating actually to see whether Mittel can really challenge Josh Smith in this race in a straight fight. Obviously early on Josh Smith had to sort of try and fight his way back through the field from the back after the opening lap incident with Charles Hall in the Bridgewater and Taunton College run car. Low sun now here at Oulton Park, reflecting off the tarmac. Here comes Smith though, but the Mittel really hasn't let him get away. Only 8/10 the gap at the end of lap number 1. Number 8, Joe Locke in third. 80, Casper Jensen fourth. 95, Richard Stables is fifth. In sixth place is number 16, Ashley Hicklin. 7th is number 4, Tony Barwell. 8th is number 24, Ian Charles. And Joe Stables came through in 11th place, didn't he, at the end of lap 1? So he's made up several places up into 11th. And yes, the Havel come around at the end of the first lap. Charles Adrian and Sean Peters running out the field.
Richard Stables had a big grassy moment at Old Hall, and that has allowed Ash Hicklin, I think, into 5th place. Yes, he's gone through. Now, the first part of the lap, this is where Mittel struggled against Locke in the earlier race, and Josh Smith looks like he's in that similar position where he's able to pull away. So Smith pulling away in the first half of the lap. We saw how quick, though, for the Hislop chicane that last lap Mittel was. And perhaps he can do similar. There's 80, Class B leader. That's Casper Jensen. So Joe Stay was about 10 seconds behind the class lead at this stage. Here's Mittel ahead of Joe Locke. And then you've got Jensen. Hicklin is indeed ahead of Richard Stables after that grassy excursion that Richard, father of Joe, had at Old Hall. Here comes Joe Stable diving up the inside of Andy Chittenden, that is. So that, I think, is him into something like third in Class B already. So flying along.
Yeah, and a challenge on there. That looks like it is John Morris. So Miles Drew losing a place there, I think. There is Richard Stables, number 95, in 5th place, chasing after Ashley Hicklin, I think it is now. There, though, is the Casper Jensen car, number 80. Then it's Hicklin next through in 16. Then it's Richard Stables, number 95, through. But already the leaders are through to end the lap. There's Joe Locke in 3rd place, just going across the line now. There is Jensen in 4th. And there's Stables rounding out the top 6 for the moment. On that lap, Josh Smith was about 0.4 of a second faster than Scott Mittel, both into the 37s though that time. Joe Locke into the 38s, no one else below 1 minute 40 at this stage of the race. Here is a tight battle. Dropping down the avenue towards Cascade, it's Joe Stables going through on the inside of Ian Charles to get 8th place away. So, and now Charles has gone off the circuit completely. So he'll lose a few more positions to Andy Chittenden and Doug Carter and probably drop nearly to the back of the field.
So again, in the second half of the lap, I'd suggest Mittel is the quicker driver, the quicker car. But he loses a lot in the first half of the lap to Josh Smith. But Mittel going quicker than he did in the earlier race. And Josh Smith is way off his qualifying pace. So perhaps there is some lasting damage from the incident in race 1. Here's Joe Stables. He's caught another one. That's Tony Barwell, I think, for 2nd in Class B. He's sitting in the slipstream is Stables. Comes up the inside into the Hislop chicane. Later on the brakes and goes through. Joe Stables driving really well in these last couple of seasons, Ian.
Yeah, he really has got quite a mature head on relatively young shoulders, hasn't he, Joe Stables, in terms of his on-track demeanour, certainly. He's up into 7th place now, then ahead of Tony Barwell, and the next target is going to be his dad, so hopefully his dad won't give him too much of a hard time as he tries to get through, because he'll know here that this is the race in which his son Joe could wrap up the championship for the 2nd time in 2 seasons.
Josh Smith's now picking his pace up. He's into the 36s. Mattelli's going quicker and quicker, but just can't live with that pace of the PR6. So a couple of seconds Josh Smith has over Scott Mattel. Third is Locke. Fourth is Jensen. He's going much better than the earlier race, but he's being caught by Ash Hicklin. They're in different classes. Their stables then. He is, at the moment, going through traffic, of course, lower than Jensen. So he's, 12 seconds behind Casper Jensen, who leads Class B. So that kind of suggests that's going to be a difficult task. But second place should, I think, be enough to wrap up the championship in this race.
I think it probably would be. So I don't think he needs to break his neck to try and get out into the lead of the class, as Jensen and Hicklin in 4th and 5th place just went through the front shot there. There's Richard Stables and there's Joe Stables. So he's still got quite a bit of ground to make up on his father there, hasn't he? His father, the York Hotelier, bike sports champion a good few years ago now. It was 2011 that he won the championship in the Radical PR6, and 2010 as well. So he actually won it 2 years back to back.
So Stables now, Joe Stables, we'll see what sort of pace he can produce, can't we, with this clear circuit as he turns there into the Hislop chicane. In the SR3, a bigger car than the PR6, carries a bit more aero therefore. Up the hill he goes, up over Clay Hill on this, the 4th lap of the motor race. Already back is Josh Smith, our leader, who goes through a bit quicker still, 1 minute 36.83. Mattel in this chase is going quicker than he has done ever before, 1 minute 37.6, but the lead's gone up to almost 3 seconds. No Child across the line, up the inside. This is for 4th, Ash Hicklin on Casper Jensen, but Jensen carries the speed on that outside line to stay ahead. So this is for 4th and 5th positions. Good drives we saw from Ash Hicklin last time out at Silverstone, where he got his first podium and then got a second one the next day. But he is being warned for track limits infringements, so it's just got to be a little bit careful there. Casper Jensen, in turn, doesn't want to lose too much time battling here because he's looking for this class win.
Yeah, and looking at the lap times, Mattel has gone 4 tenths faster than he did in the earlier race. Josh Smith has done 1:36.83 now. The best lap in the earlier race, which in its own right was a lap record, was a 1:37.97, so it's gone another second and a bit faster than that, which we always suspected he probably could do, but of course he didn't get that clear run earlier on. So Casper Jensen and Ashley Hicklin disputing 4th and 5th positions then. Different classes. Class A is the Ashley Hicklin car, the tuned car. It's a production car for number 80. Casper Jensen there in the red, white and black car that's just going through the front of shot, now heading up Clay Hill. And of course Scott Mattel a little bit further up the road. He's in actually a Class C car, a separate class for cars of under 1100cc, so effectively that's just a 1000cc superbike engine in that car, but different to an RGB specification Mattel, because of course it's got different aero on it, it's central seat position, and so on and so forth. There is our race leader, Josh Smith. Nicely turns his way through Oulton there and is comfortably out in front in this race.
And another fastest lap last time by, 1:36.7, so that extends his lead out to 4 seconds now as he turns his way onto Lakeside and up towards the very quick Island Bend, which I should think is flat out in these cars. So right on the limit though at that speed, and Josh Smith able to keep it pretty tight actually through Island.
It's going to be touch and go whether Joe Stables even catches his father, I think, at this rate. He's only lapping about a second a lap faster than him, and he's still 6 seconds behind with only 9 minutes, so probably about 6, maybe 7 laps of the race left to go, being an 80-minute plus 1 lap race. So it's touch and go whether he'll even get there, and then he's got another 6 seconds to make up on the Jensen and Hicklin battle, hasn't he? So I think Stables might have to settle for second in Class B today.
And Jensen has actually got a quicker lap than Stables at this point of the race at least, as we watch Josh Smith climb up Clay Hill now, absolutely flying along in this Radical PR6. Up towards Druids he goes. There's Mattel in second, trying to chase. Looking back now to some of the other battles in this motor race. That's Andy Chittenden being chased by James Brakel and Doug Carter. This is for 9th position, Ian.
Yep, and Chittenden and Brakel, 48 and 3, both Class B cars. Doug Carter in a Class A car, one of the PR6s. He's been racing that car for a number of years now. That's Jensen just going through shot. There's Stables, and Jensen is without actually Hicklin behind him. So does that mean that Hicklin had got ahead, or has Hicklin disappeared completely? There's Hicklin now, so Hicklin is ahead of Jensen.
So he's got through on lap 7 of this race has Ash Hicklin. I think he's too far back to do much about anybody else. So 4th position looks to be the best that Hicklin will get. That's a class podium though in Class A. Jensen a slower lap because of that, so that will allow Joe Stables to get a bit closer. And Stables does and off goes the SR4. So that's Kimpton into the gravel at Druids. What I was going to say was Joe Stables has done the best lap in Class B now, 1:38.76.
Yeah, Kimpton spun there out of 12th position, I'm afraid, and I'm not sure he'll be able to continue from there. Marshall just wandering over to see if he's okay. 7.5 minutes of the race left to go. Leading cars, well, this isn't the leading group, this is the battle a bit further back, sort of in the midfield, featuring Doug Carter and James Brakel just ahead of him. James Brakel making his return this weekend to driving in bike sports.
And Stables is now right on, Brakel now right on Andy Chittenden, and they're both catching Tony Barwell. So this is for 3rd, 4th and 5th within Class B. Doug Carter went really well, didn't he, last time out at Silverstone? He got himself up in the top 6 in one of the races there, but not quite got the pace around Oulton to do that.
Just noticed that Joe Stables has done the fastest Class B lap of the race now, 1:38.76, so that time took more than 2 seconds out of his father.
Big slide there from Andy Chittenden, getting the power on out of Britons, which has brung him right up to Tony Barwell. So this is for 3rd position within Class B. Tony Barwell then turns his way through the chicane. He's only had the one class podium prior to this weekend. Andy Chittenden, the chaser here, has had a few more. So Chittenden has been a bit more successful than Barwell during the course this season, but it's Barwell ahead of this battle with James Brakel returning to the category, chasing them both.
6 minutes plus 1 lap left to go in this race then. And it's Josh Smith still leading the way by nearly 8 seconds, but we're watching there the number 4 car of Tony Barwell going through, being caught then by Andy Chittenden, 48, Brakel and Carter right there, and the Stables now separated only by 1.2 seconds, so we might see a father and son battle emerging for 6th position on the road before too much longer. But this battle just behind that then, 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th, dropping down into Cascades. There's James Brakel, number 3, just in behind the Chittenden car, I think that was.
He's really close this time, heading up towards Island Bend. And can he get alongside here? Yes, he nearly did anyway. But, couldn't, up the inside into Shellows maybe again. But no, he's not quite able to get that overlap. And this is how far they're behind the leader, because Josh Smith at the end of the lap is in traffic now. I think he's already lapped H. Charles Adrian, that's Sean Peters, that he's coming up the inside of into Old Hall. He's now a long way ahead of Scott Mattel. It was 8 seconds at the end of the previous lap, and certainly isn't any less than that now, so Mattel just hasn't got the pace of Smith, and the gap back goes up to 10 seconds, and Joe Locke is catching Mattel just a couple of seconds behind.
Yeah, so Smith and Mattel and Locke have gone through. Hicklin comes through in 4th, Casper Jensen 5th. I'm just looking into the background, and yes, Joe Stables has now got ahead of his father, who is still there, quite a long way behind. Joe Stables did a 1:38.42, and it was a slower lap for Richard that time. He must have sort of really didn't work quite hard to keep out of the way of his son as he came flying through.
Joe Stables now only 5 seconds behind Casper Jensen, up something like 12 earlier, and he's lapping a couple of seconds quicker, so Joe Stables could yet get the win.
Only 4 minutes to go plus 1 lap, so probably 3 or 4 laps to go. We've got one into the pits, I think that's Ian Charles. He was off at Cascades earlier on in the race, and he looks like it's going to be our second retirement. Number 24, Ian Charles, joining Andrew Kimpton on the list of non-finishers.
Straight into his garage has gone Ian Charles, so certainly retirement from him. Andy Chittenden being warned for track limits in this battle he's having with James Brakel for what is 4th position within Class B. Coming through there, that's Miles Drew, car number 17. So he's still got the road registration plates on the back of his SR3. Of course, road legal cars, you can have radicals. Not sure how well advised it would be to do too long of a journey in a radical.
Can't get much shopping in them, can you? That's the main drawback.
Here's that battle that's been pretty good between Chittenden, Brakel and Doug Carter, turning their way through the Britain chicane, and this is all allowing Tony Barwell to get away in that 3rd position within the class. I think Scott Mattel's realised Joe Locke was getting closer to him, picked the pace back up, 1.7 seconds, the gap there. Now the next car through will be Ash Hickley, and then it'll be the Class B machine. So we'll see how far Casper Jensen is ahead of Joe Stables. At 80, the second car in this shot is Jensen, and he was 5 seconds ahead of Stables. That is now free, as another 1.6 seconds brought back by Joe Stables, absolutely flying consistently throughout the race.
Give him 2 laps then, and I reckon there's probably 3 laps to go in this race, so it could be a bit of a grandstand finish for the Class B victory, if nothing else. Still, this great battle going on between these 3. De Carter there with the blue and orange car, just ahead of him is James Brakel, just ahead of him is Andy Chittenden. This is for 9th place overall. They're coming up and over the line once again. De Carter thinking about a late braking move into Oulton that time, but decides better of it in the end, I reckon. So they drop down the avenue towards Cascades, the quick left-hander again, before they go onto the Lakeside Straight. So 2 minutes left to go in this race. There is our race leader Josh Smith. So actually it's touch and go. It might even be 3 laps left to go, because he's already coming up to the line. We have got, I'm just looking at our screens in the commentary box now, and it's 1 3/4 minutes. So I reckon we might get 3 more laps out of this race, if anything, Josh.
Let's see when the last lap will
Which is good news for Joe Stables, of course.
Absolutely. We shall have to pick up the Class B leaders, car number 80 and 98, because that gap has been coming down. Casper Jensen and Joe Stables, they should be coming. Oh, here they are. Here's Jensen on our screens then, car number 80, and Joe Stables is almost there now. You can see absolutely on the limit, the car battling for grip as he tries to get the traction on. A new fastest lap in the class for Joe Stables, a 1:37.6, which is quicker than everybody but Smith and Mattel, and right on Mattel's pace. Joe Stables really strong here.
It's less than a second off the overall pace, as well as Stables looks down the inside. They almost touched there, I think, at Cascades. It's still Jensen ahead at the moment, but now they head along Lakeside Straight up towards the left-hander at Island Bend. It's the black number 98 car of Joe Stables trying to find a way past the black, white and red number 80 of Casper Jensen for the lead of Class B. Down towards the Islands hairpin they go. The Shell Oils hairpin they go, and it is still the same order. They're coming up to lap Sean Peters in his car, his Radical, in just a moment. They'll probably get him, I would think, on the way down to Hislops. They've gone through Britons now, climbing up to Hilltop, line astern. Stables in the slipstream. He can't probably really overtake Jensen here. Can he? Can he? Can he? Yes, he does. Down the inside he goes as they're lapping Sean Peters, who kept well out of the way. And Joe Stables goes through to take the Class B lead, which, if he keeps it, will make certain of the championship.
Really committed stuff there from Joe Stables. Really good drives this has been at Oulton Park to get himself to the lead at both times on the back of the grid within his class. Meanwhile, Josh Smith there, going into Cascades, has gone on to his last lap of the race. He's 12 seconds clear of Scott Mattel, who's a couple ahead of Joe Locke. So on to the final lap of the race we are. Joe Stables didn't need those extra laps, Ian. He did it immediately, didn't he?
He did. Just looking at how Class A might resolve itself, I don't think that Josh Smith will quite wrap up Class A here today, even with this victory, because of the non-finishes that he's had and the non-starts that he's had recently. Joe Locke still in with a mathematical chance of taking Class A, I reckon, but it's certainly going to be the overall title if things stay this way for Joe Stables for a 2nd year in a row. So emulating his father by doing it twice in 2 years, which is a really nice thing.
Here's number 11. That's Smith then, who's coming towards the end of the lap and towards the end of the day of racing here at Oulton Park. And Josh Smith, who hasn't won for a while, has he? Hasn't won since Anglesey, which was back in June. So it's been a while for the Bridgewater College driver, but a strong drive here. Not quite the pace he had in qualifying, but still quicker than everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely done everything he needs to do. Been a bit of a lonely race. We wondered if Scott Mattel would be able to take the fight to him. And obviously no Charles Hall this time, who probably would have been able to take the fight to him. But up to the line he comes, and it's going to be Josh Smith then, take a 7th victory this season in the RLM Racing Bike Sports Championship. He's done all he could. He's doing the best lap of the race, a lap record on the final lap as well, a 1:36.47. 2nd place should go the way of Scott Mittal it does now, and third goes to Joe Locke. So he gets another podium to round out his day. He'll be pleased with that at his local circuit. Still this battle going on for 9th and 10th between Andy Chittenden and James Brakel, but I'm just watching out of my window now because very shortly I think we'll have Ashley come through and Joe Stables through to win Class B as well, and he wraps up the championship, the RLM Racing Bike Sports Championship for 2019. It will be won once again by Joe Stables. His victory in Class B here, his second victory of the day, enough for him to wrap up the championship. He was 5th overall, 4th was Ash Shickling, number 16, 5th number 98, Joe Stables, 6th number 8, Casper Jensen, 7th number 95, Richard Stables just over the line now.
Really good driving Joe Stables, as we say. We've seen him out this year also in the Radical Sports Car Championships and has been right on the pace of the front runners there too. So Joe Stables, who's, as we say, come on a long way in the last few years and very much a deserving double champion. And he's taken it right to the Class A car throughout this year, hasn't he, in that less powerful car. He's taken 5 overall podiums, despite being in Class B.
Yeah, no, that production engine compared to the tuned engines of the Class A cars doesn't seem to have been too much of a hindrance to him. So 8th place went the way of number 4, Tony Barwell, 9th to 48, Andy Chittenden, 10th to number 3, James Brakel, 11th to number 5, Doug Carter, 12th was number 18, John Morris, he just goes across the line now, then 13th, number 17, Miles Drew, 14th, number 6, Sean Peters, and 15th, number 21, Charles Adrian. Ian Charles was in retirement, as was Andrew Kimpton, who we just saw in the gravel trap as well. But another win there for Josh Smith, and I think he probably will wrap up the Class A Championship next time out at Snetterton. But all hail Joe Stables, really. We look forward to seeing what goes on though at Snetterton. So we see Josh Smith heading into Parc Fermé. We'll hopefully hear from him very shortly. Just a reminder that the 750 Motor Club are back at Oulton Park on the 5th of October for a very busy meeting. We've got the 5 Club MX-5s, we've got 750 Formula, we've got Formula V, Historic 750 Formula, MR2s, the RGB Sports 1000s and the Type R Trophy. I've got no idea how we're going to fit it all in, but we'll do our very best. Andy McEwen will be joining me in the commentary box for that one, so we look forward to that. But just reflect really on what's been a very good day's racing here at Oulton Park today.
Just been a typical 750 Motor Club race day, hasn't it, with action right from 8:30 this morning from the qualifying sessions, and then from our live stream, about 11 o'clock we had our first race. It's just been action-packed all the way. It's been breathless action, hasn't it? But low cost, I think, producing the races of the weekend. We had that Mad Club Enduro race where we really didn't know what was going on until the checkered flag, and now we got those three season decider events to look forward to. You mentioned Oulton Park, we've got Snetterton, which will have the Sunday will be live streamed, and then we've got the Burkitt weekend, which will have more championships decided on the Sunday there.
Yeah, so absolutely a lot to look forward to. And as ever, a tremendous job done here at Oulton Park by all of the marshals. Many thanks to them for coming out in such great numbers here at Oulton Park this weekend. We're so grateful to you. There's so much motorsport to choose from this weekend. We're very glad you've chosen Oulton Park and the 750 Motor Club, and we'll look forward to your support again in 3 weeks' time. And let's not forget all of the other officials and the circuit staff and everyone else that helps to make these race meetings possible. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, so many thanks to everybody who gets involved with that. So Josh Brown has been alongside myself, Ian Soman, up here in the commentary box this weekend. Many thanks to him for joining me. I'll look forward to talking to you again here at Oulton Park, as I say, with Andy McEwen in 3 weeks' time. But there's more motorsport to come between now and then. And don't forget, of course, there's a stage of the Rally Great Britain as well here at Oulton Park during the course of October as well. Get all the information on oultonpark.co.uk. Looking forward to hearing from our leading finishers in the RLM Racing Bike Sports Championship in just a second. Jacob Harris will be down there to talk to them, and they will be hauled out of Parc Fermé and brought in the general direction of Jacob in just a second. Meanwhile, the circuit's being put to bed. The marshals heading back to their cars, the rescue vehicles heading back into the paddock as well, and drivers heading in the direction of Jacob Harris. So from Josh Barris and myself here in the commentary box, a very good night to you, and we'll leave you in the clutches of Jacob Harris for the closing stages of the day's interviews. For now, from me, good night, down to Jacob.
Okay, we're down here with Scott Mattel, Class C winner again and second out on track this time.
Yeah, Josh had a little bit too much pace for us today. I kept him on us for the first 4 or 5 laps. Then it was overheating a little bit, so sort of had to let him go, really.
Okay, I'm just conscious this ambulance might run us over. If you want to just step this way slightly. But overall, a good day for you.
Yeah, good day. I got told off for not mentioning Seven Darcy, my kids, as well in the first one, so shout out to them, hello. But yeah, good day overall.
Of course, you do have children. Are they here supporting you today, or are they at home watching the stream?
They're at home watching the stream. It's about a 5-hour drive for us, so yeah. It's my son's birthday party tomorrow, so got to get home tonight.
Better get back on your way for that. I won't keep you any longer then. Scott, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Next up, we have Joe Stables, who's won a Class B again. Joe, double victory for you today.
Yeah, it was a good race. I mean, I didn't do it with the qualifying. I mean, I would have probably got a bit higher, but it's always fun making it for the back of the grid to wherever you can.
We believe you've wrapped up the Class B Championship with this result.
Yeah, I should think so. Chris Preen didn't make it for this one, so yeah, I've definitely got the points now. Just got to win the championship, all right.
Sign of a successful season then. How's it gone for you overall as a year?
Yeah, pretty good. Steady away, just doing what I'm doing.
What are your designs for next year?
We don't really know yet. Maybe the Radical Challenge, we'll have to see.
Okay, well, all the best with that. Should you make it, you back out at Snetterton?
Yeah, we should be here for Snetterton.
Good stuff. We'll be live streaming that as well, so maybe see you then.
Good, thank you.
That's from Joe. Next up, for an interview, we have Ashley Hicklin, third in Class A. Ash, I'm speaking to you again, and unfortunately it's not for a win again.
No, unfortunately not, but it will come hopefully one day. But keep pushing. Car felt good. Track, like I say, this is my home circuit, so absolutely loved it as always. Yeah, I've just got to keep pushing on that car, and hopefully we'll get there. We're heading in the right direction. That's one thing. So, yeah, at least it's definitely running better since from Silverstone, from having that accident. So.
Is there anything specific on your to-do list to try and improve the car, get that extra bit of pace out of it?
Could maybe clear a bit more weight out of it as well. I can probably lose another 17 kilo out of it, so that should make a big difference. Because before I was probably about 43 kilo overweight, so I've got it down to being a bit closer to where it needs to be. But
good stuff. You reckon you can do that by Snetterton?
I hope so. Yeah. We'll see what I can do. Not 100% sure whether I'm going to come to Snetterton yet, but. Yeah,
we'll got a good 4 weeks, haven't you? You can manage that.
Yeah.
All right then. Well, all the best with that. And if you need a hand, I'm useless and that sort of thing, so don't bother ringing me.
All right then. Cheers. Thank you anyway.
Nice one. Next up, I'm guessing we've got second in class. It's Joe Locke, who is second in Class A. Joe, you did win earlier. This time, just one short. What happened?
For some reason we had no front end. I think we'll obviously have a look at that again. We made a couple of adjustments and lowered the tyre pressures, thinking it was going to improve it. I think the track went a lot slower, obviously, because Josh was, nearly 2 seconds slower. But no, I think it's a positive weekend because we've obviously got pace, but we're just struggling on the last final part of the track. So I think we'll work on it again, and obviously we've got Snetterton next, and hopefully get back up the top.
Yeah, not a bad Saturday afternoon. Would you say it's all set up, or are there things to do with the car that you might want to work on in between now and October?
Yeah, well, I think as well as set up, I think it's my driving ability. We've only had the car for this season, and I think there's a lot for me to learn to go, to progress. And obviously, they're not the easiest thing to drive at a fast speed. So for Tim, I think he's the best man to get me quicker. So. We'll be back stronger in October.
Hopefully you'll go from strength to strength as your experience grows.
Yeah, hopefully, mate. Hopefully.
Brilliant. Thanks for chatting with us, and all the best for Snetterton. We'll see you then. And last but not least, we have Class A winner Josh Smith and championship leader as well now.
Yeah, we're leading Class A. Championship slipped away from us after our engine issues at Silverstone. So we've only got one part left to fight for, which we'll fight till to the end. Snetterton's next. We've had a semi-decent weekend. We're on pole, and race 1 didn't happen, and then we made up for it in race 2. So hopefully we can carry a bit more momentum again into Snetterton in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, looking forward to Snetterton. Is it a track that you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, as long as it doesn't rain and it's not freezing cold, which in October the likelihood is pretty high, I suspect. But yeah, Snetterton has been pretty good to us, so we'll go there with some hope and see what we can do.
The better weather today then played into your hands?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like if it does rain, it's kind of like an SR3 territory. But when it's dry, the PR6 is on song, and the boys at the Bridgewater College done a great job again on the car, turning it around in between sessions. And yeah, we've ticked off most of what we hope to achieve this weekend. So.
You mentioned your team there. Have you got a big following here today with you?
Yeah, well, we had 3 cars out this weekend, all part of Bridgewater and Taunton College Motorsport, all run by the students. And yeah, again, they've done a great job. They turned our car around after our mishap at Silverstone, and yeah, they've run the customer cars this weekend faultlessly. So yeah, they've been brilliant once again.
Great to hear. Thank you very much for talking to us, and congratulations on your win.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Right, that is all we have for you here today from Oulton Park. Unfortunately, that's us until Snetterton, which I believe is on the 13th of October. We will be live streaming that, so join us then across Facebook and YouTube. We are Alpha Live, the live streaming experts. 750 Motor Club have run this event today, so big thank you to all of those. Big thank you to all the marshals, our commentators Ian Snowman and Josh Barrett. I'm sure they've mentioned everyone already. All our cameramen and crew. It's been an absolute pleasure. But for now, it's good night from here at Oulton Park.